This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Here comes Ermine. Ermine is found in Seaman. Lemon forever. Ermine on the inside. Lemon forever. Lemon forever. And Mark Casse to the front. Lemon forever. Winning Kentucky Oaks 132.
But they're coming to the finish, and it is all Barbaro. It is a blind performance. He runs away from them all, and he has saved something left for the Preakness. Barbaro wins by 7.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Catherine Sophia has run away here. Catherine Sophia's got a 4-length lead as they come by the 16th pole. And Catherine Sophia will be very impressive. The winner of the Kentucky Oaks. And they come to the final furlong. Exaggerator is closing in. Nyquist to catch with a 16th to go. Gunrunner, Exaggerator on the outside. Nyquist and Exaggerator, they're coming to the line together. And Nyquist is still unbeaten. He has won the Kentucky Derby.
Now here's Mike Penna.
That's the way you kick off the show right before the Kentucky Derby, with a montage like that. That'll get you pumped up for the Run for the Roses, 1 week away. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on the show that launched a network. As always, you are listening to this program nationwide on Sirius 162, XM 207, along with our terrestrial partners, and live streaming worldwide on our website, horseracingradio.net. And don't forget, too, if you miss any portion of today's show, or maybe you just want to catch up on your favorite HRN shows, I don't blame you. Make your way back to our website, horseracingradio.net. Check them out via podcast. They are all available for you, including special segments that we put out there. They're available for you on our website and your favorite podcast platform. With the 152nd Run for the Roses looming on the horizon, this is an incredibly busy morning at Churchill Downs. We already saw Bluegrass winner Further Ado on the racetrack. We saw Florida Derby winner Commandment. Japanese entrant, the UAE Derby winner Wonder Dean, was on the racetrack this morning. News coming out, too, this morning on the workout show that Brian Hernandez Jr. is going to be aboard 6-Speed, the runner-up from the UAE Derby. Owner Jake Ballas breaking that news this morning. So pretty much all of the jockey assignments are set, with the exception of Chip Honcho, who went to the track this morning, had his final work. Steve Asmussen said a decision regarding his status will be made after that workout this morning. So we are awaiting word. Kevin Kerstein will join me live from Churchill, 8:35 Eastern. Stay tuned for that. Kevin is fantastic, and he's on top of all of these horses throughout the entire year, but now he gets a chance to be part of this atmosphere at Churchill on this Saturday morning, and he will have the latest for you live from Churchill Downs this morning, 8:35 Eastern Time. My poll question for you this morning involves those foreign horses that I was just mentioning. Which foreign horse, and there are 3, which foreign horse will have the biggest impact in the Kentucky Derby? Is it Dannon Bourbon, undefeated, looks pretty good, big test coming up? Is it Wonder Dean, the UAE Derby winner, or is it 6-Speed, who came up short in that race? Maybe he turns the tables on Wonder Dean and everybody else next Saturday. But if you were going to choose, and I'm not asking you which one is going to win, because I think each of these horses is going to be a big price. But which foreign horse is going to have the biggest impact? Is there another Forever Young among that group, for example? Do you like Dannon Bourbon, Wonder Dean, or 6-Speed? If one of those 3 is going to have a big impact, which one is it? Let me know your thoughts. You can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network, on Facebook to weigh in on the poll question. And if you don't do social media, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, and let me know. Dannon Bourbon from simply a race record perspective, being undefeated, 3 for 3, hasn't really been challenged. He's looked really good in each of his 3 wins. All of those coming in Japan. Is he a horse that we look at and say, okay, maybe we see a horse. Now, this is not keep in mind, Dan and Bourbon, not a Japanese bred in Kentucky. He's the son of Darley Stallion Maxfield. But his efforts have been ultra impressive. He won last time out by 3.5. Race before that, it was 5 lengths. Broke his maiden by 10 lengths back in October of last year. So he really hasn't been challenged yet. But, of course, as we know, the Kentucky Derby is a whole different kettle of fish. And then you have Wonder Dean, who looked great winning the UAE Derby. But prior to that, he was fine. He wasn't stellar, wasn't horrible, just wasn't winning a lot other than his maiden win last September. Wonder Dean is indeed Japanese bred. And it seems like the Japanese horses over the past several years have been much more impactful. It used to be where we would look at the horses coming from Japan and say, likely toss, draw a line through them. You wouldn't even spend a lot of time handicapping them. Now I think you have to give them their respect. How about 6-speed? Runner-up to Wonder Dean in the UAE Derby. Is there enough there to convince you that 6-speed can have an impact? I think the distance could be maybe the big question mark with him. His pedigree, by not this time out of a Medaglia d'Oro mare, certainly says he can go longer. But when he lost the UAE Derby to Wonder Dean, his 3-race win streak was snapped. But each of those races were at much shorter distances. It started with a 6-furlong win last December at Meydan. Then he comes back and wins at 7 furlongs. Then he wins the Grade 3 in Meydan at a mile. And he looks great doing it. But is he much better suited to shorter distances? We're going to find out. And the question mark for all of these 3-year-olds is how will they handle this mile and a quarter? How will they do it with 150,000 plus screaming fans? That atmosphere on the walkover. Will they have the mental fortitude to keep it all together? That's another huge part of becoming a Kentucky Derby winner. You have to be able to keep everything in check. And it's not just about the horses. It's about the riders, too. And I was thinking about this morning as I was doing some homework before the show. And this is a very popular thing to do, and of course, fantasy sports are massive. But I know a lot of times with golf, say like an event like the Masters or the U.S. Open, whatever it might be, you'll draft a team of, say, 5 golfers, and depending on their total score under par, then it's kind of an aggregate scoring system. Then you'll find out where you stand against the other people that are in the pool with you, and you'll see if you can win. So I was thinking, how cool would it be to draft 4 jockeys in this year's Kentucky Derby, and depending on where they finish, you would be awarded points, or however the system would work. I'm just spitballing here. But you would have your 4 jockeys. That would be your team. That's, 20% of the field? And then maybe you pick an alternate jockey in case you have a late scratch and that jockey gets in. But those 4 jockeys are your team. Which 4 would you choose in this year's Kentucky Derby? The popular choice is probably going to be Rod Ortiz Jr. because of the fact that he's aboard the favorite Renegade for Todd Pletcher, who, as we know, knows how to train a Kentucky Derby winner. But Rod Ortiz Jr. is 0 for 9 in the Derby. His best finish, a 4th-place finish. Luis Saez is probably a popular choice if you're drafting a team because he gets them out on Florida Derby winner Commandment. But Luis Saez is 0 for 12 in the Kentucky Derby. Now, you get the sense that eventually those jockeys are good. They're too good. Eventually, they're going to find the right horse, and they're going to break through. Maybe this is the year. They're both riding top contenders. The other horse that will vie for favoritism is Further Ado, the Bluegrass winner. And when he's good, he's really good. I'm sure that his connections are hoping that somehow the Kentucky Derby would move to Keeneland, about an hour up the road, shift about an hour east from Churchill Downs, because when Further Ado has been at Keeneland, he's been an absolute monster. Nobody could touch him. He might be 1-9 in the Kentucky Derby if it was run at Keeneland, but it's not. And it's not like he can't handle Churchill Downs. We saw him with his big win in the Kentucky Jockey Club, but it doesn't feel like a memorable win for Further Ado because he only won by a length and 3/4 that day. The race before that, he broke his maiden at Keeneland by 20, and then when he won the Bluegrass at Keeneland, he did it by 11. So he's going to get a lot of hype based on what he did at Keeneland, but keep in mind, he's handled Churchill Downs. He's won at Churchill Downs. And I bring that up because he's going to be ridden by 3-time Kentucky Derby winner Johnny V. So Johnny V, I'm sure, would be a popular choice if you're putting together your team of jockeys, your 4 jockeys. So let's say you take a rod. Let's say you take Luis Saez. 0 for 21 between them. And then let's say you throw in the Hall of Famer Johnny V, 3-time Derby winner. Who's your 4th? This is where it really gets interesting. You could look at a rod's brother, Jose, among the top jockeys in the country. If you're looking for quality, he's a good one. You could look to him. He's also looking for his first Derby win this year. 0 for 10. Golden Tempo, a horse that comes from way out of it, is the horse that he'll get a leg up on. Golden Tempo's good, but he has to prove he's this good. What about Javier Castellano? Here's a guy that's been there, done that. He's won the Kentucky Derby. Same connections here. And he's aboard the Puma. The Puma, boy, is he tough. Nobody really gave him a big shot in the Florida Derby, and he ran his eyeballs out. Just a nose behind Commandment. So if you like Commandment and Luis Saez, maybe Javier Castellano is your guy with the Puma. Maybe he's the one. Do you believe in Emerging Market, the Louisiana Derby winner? If you do, you take a swing with Flavien Prat. He becomes your 4th guy. And how about the Hall of Famer, the ageless one, Mike Smith? I wouldn't be afraid to make him my 4th pick if I was doing it. And he's aboard So Happy, who continues to just get better and show up. So Happy is going to be a bit of a long shot in here after winning the Santa Anita Derby. But he's 3 for 4 lifetime. His only subpar race, he finished 3rd in the Grade 2 San Felipe, coming off of the layoff in his 3-year-old debut. Nothing wrong with So Happy and taking a swing with Hall of Famer Mike Smith. He knows how to win the Kentucky Derby. So it really does get interesting. I think that would be a really fun pool, a fun wager, if you will, to put together a team. And if you want to email the show, let me know your thoughts. It's not the poll question, but let me know who your 4 jockeys would be. I'll try to pass along some of those emails and notes later in the show. If you want to post them on our social media pages, you can do that at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. Time now for this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question. Lee Delapina has it for you right now.
Thank you, Mike. This week's Impossible Trivia question is brought to you by Mojo Racing Partners, celebrating their 20th anniversary this month. Get your mojo working at mojoracingpartners.com. What common household item is responsible for breeding more Kentucky Derby winners than any other source of wealth in Kentucky Derby history? No Googling. We'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
All right, when I come back, you're going to hear from Lori Douglas, Bethany Walton. It is that time of the year where I interview them to talk about paint. Yeah, get ready to paint your barns and your fences. FarmPaint, fantastic product. They've been with us for a long time here on the network. I think you're going to learn a lot in that interview coming up. Kevin Kerstein, 8:35, 9 o'clock Eastern our Kentucky-bred conversation with Ned Toffey from Spendthrift, the owners of Further Ado. Mark Casse will join me 9:20, hoping to pick up his first Kentucky Derby win with Silent Tactic this year. And the Pontiff of the Pick 4, Jude Feld, at 9:40 Eastern Time. 10 o'clock Eastern begins Hour 3. Kevin Kilroy has your TwinSpires triple play. Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. Dale and Tim, I Ask, They Answer, 10:30 Eastern. A loaded Equine Forum 1 week away from the Run for the Roses. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Let Denali Stud sell your future Saturday afternoon horses. For 3 decades, Denali Stud has developed a reputation of consistently selling 7-figure yearlings at Fasig-Tipton Saratoga and Keeneland September. And every year since 1990, Denali has ranked among the nation's leading consigners, amassing over $800 million in sales. Entry deadline for Fasig-Tipton July, Fasig-Tipton Saratoga, and Keeneland September is Friday, May 1st. Denali Stud, selling Saturday afternoon horses.
The spring meet at Churchill Downs starts Saturday, April 25th, with 44 days of live racing through June. With a record $27.8 million in stakes purses and 9 stakes races on Derby Day totaling more than $12 million, you will not want to miss the spring meet at Churchill Downs. Kentucky Derby Week includes 22 stakes races worth $19.1 million, headlined by the $1.5 million Kentucky Oaks and the $5 million Kentucky Derby. For more information and tickets, visit churchilldowns.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
They're off the turn. Decode has a quarter mile more to go. Butane right behind him. Soldier and Diplomat on the grandstand side, gradually wearing down Decode. And Soldier and Diplomat has gone to the lead. Now here comes Silent Tactic. Silent Tactic flying down the outside, and he's going to get them all. Silent Tactic. Christian Torres drawing away to win the Southwest Stakes. Soldier and Diplomat, second best. He was in a photo, but I think he got it over Butane and then Rancho Santa Fe. Silent Tactic gets it and picks up 20 Kentucky Derby points from off the pace. Stormed home to win it.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Matt Dinnerman had the call of the Grade 3 Southwest back on February 6th. Silent Tactic proving best that day. He followed it up with a second-place finish in the Grade 2 Rebel and a second-place finish behind likely Kentucky Derby favorite Renegade in the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. He is yet to finish worse than second in 6 career starts. Is he the horse that gives trainer Mark Casse that elusive first Kentucky Derby win? Mark's 0 for 11 in the Derby. He's in 2 Hall of Fames. He's won almost every major race. It speaks to exactly how difficult the Kentucky Derby is to win. Maybe Silent Tactic, who is as consistent as they come, is the one to pick up the pieces late and to find a way to be draped in roses 1 week from today. Going to be pretty special. You know what else is special? The weather's turning better. And as the weather turns better, the lawns start to grow. You get out, you do your mowing. Well, maybe the winter weather has taken its toll on your barns and your fences, and you got to start looking at freshening them up, doing a new coat of paint. And every year on this show at this particular time, I tell you exactly how to do that. Well, I don't really tell you, but Lori Douglas and Bethany Walton from FarmPaint tell you how to freshen up your fences and your barns and so much more. Lori, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Doing really well. Bethany, happy to have you on board here again as well.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here.
Yeah, really looking forward to this conversation. And, you know, every year we start by saying, okay, how do we make a conversation about paint exciting? But I think what I just touched on, you know, the fact that so many people are going to need to start looking at freshening up from the winter weather is really the way to start. So, Bethany, why don't we start on the paint side of things? Tell me more about what folks can expect from FarmPaint and FarmPaint.com.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, so every year, with this Kentucky weather and weather around the country and winter being what it is, spring is springing, and just still offering one of the highest quality paints on the market with long-lasting colors and wonderful customer service.
Lori, I know that you have been providing customer service to your customers for many, many years. And before Bethany came on board, you and I would do this conversation individually, and we would talk about how important that is to you to make sure you're servicing your clients the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I've been doing this about 18 years, Mike, and I still enjoy it every day, and I love talking to my customers and making sure that they are happy at the end of the day, and also providing the highest quality product I can for them. Being said, we have a very high quality paint. We designed all of our paints with a very unique elastomeric polymer and a UV inhibitor. So we have a lot of stretch to the product. It soaks into the wood. It allows the wood to expand and shrink in the different weather patterns, so you don't get chipping, popping, peeling. More importantly, you don't get fading from the sun as you would with an asphalt, lacquer-based, oil-based type of product. So we have an amazing product, amazing customer service, and an amazing product.
Well, that's the reason that FarmPaint has been around for so many years, and you get so many repeat customers too, and so many of the biggest horse farms in the world call on FarmPaint to take care of their needs, don't they?
Amen. I think, and Bethany can pipe in here and let you know some of the world-renowned farms that we've been shipping paint out to for the last couple weeks now.
Absolutely. We've just sent an entire container full to Ireland, working on a container to Japan, not to mention, right here in the Bluegrass State, a lot of our farms are spraying a lot of paint right now, prepping for their derby parties and their guests and their clients. So we've been rocking and rolling here the last few weeks in Kentucky.
One of the key things about any paint job with any brand of paint is making sure that the preparation is done properly. Otherwise, the paint doesn't stand much of a chance of holding up over time. And Lori, you just talked about all of the things that make FarmPaint unique and make it so special and make it so good. When somebody reaches out to you and they say, hey, I'm looking to do this particular job at my house, at my farm, whatever the case might be, are there people at FarmPaint, maybe you, that get out there and consult them on this and teach them the right way to do it so that the product does have the most effectiveness and does last?
100%. Bethany's out on the road daily with contractors, with farm owners, farm managers, letting them know how they should prep their wood, how much paint should go on the fence, giving them quotes. So I'm going to let her pipe in here because, hey, I've done it for many, many years, but she's doing a fantastic job, and I know she's on it when it comes to what you need to do to make sure you get the best job ever.
Yeah, so we try to work really close with our contractors. Some farms decide that they want to do it themselves, making sure that the moisture content in the wood is good, making sure the wood is good and cured out, clean of debris. Again, working really close with farms, farm managers, maintenance managers. I've got really good relationships with all of our farms. I've got really good relationships with a lot of contractors throughout the country, but especially in Kentucky. And I talk to most of them on a daily basis.
All right, I'm going to ask you a really off-the-wall question, Bethany. What's the most popular paint color?
Black.
Yeah?
That bluegrass black.
You see so much of that. It used to be white years ago.
Used to be white. White is a little more expensive, and it looks beautiful, like the cover of a Southern Comfort magazine. But it is more expensive. Black is, less expensive and more attainable. So it is the most popular color for us.
One of the my first memories, earliest memories of coming to Kentucky when I moved there from Massachusetts 30 years ago was the first time we flew into Bluegrass Airport, my wife and I, and we drove past Keeneland and then right past Calumet Farm, which still to this day has those beautiful rolling hills with the white fences and the paddocks, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And I saw a lot of farms that had the white fences when we first came down 30 years ago, but as you just alluded to, it seems like black is a little more practical now.
It is.
Absolutely,
like I said,
yes.
It's just less expensive. It doesn't show the Kentucky pollen. It doesn't show manure from horses. It doesn't show dirt and weed eat marks and things like that. So it's just more attainable.
All right, well, you can go to FarmPaint.com to learn more about all of the paint offerings and the sprayers and the different products that they offer on that side of things. But there is so much more to FarmPaint. We're going to talk about Tenda here in a minute, too. But, Lori, let me come back to you. There was a product that we talk about each year, and I want to touch on that again. It's called ThorTurf. Tell me more about ThorTurf.
Yes, it's excellent. We are selling quite a bit of it these days, and thanks to Bethany, she's been doing a great job there. Basically, ThorTurf is a polymer-coated silica sand with cotton fiber in it. It is 100% dust-free, so you never, ever have to water the arena for dust issues. We've had arenas out there, Mike, for 15 years. Never got a call back. They've never even had to touch up the ring. It's very important to always keep it groomed and take care of it and keep the manure off of it, things like that. But it's such a maintenance-free kind of a product, and we are selling it to so many different avenues. Like we've got it at 3 or 4 breeding sheds. I mean, big-time farms out in Kentucky that have their own breeding sheds. Bethany has got the product in there. We've got many, many exercisers, many, many, many arenas. I'm working on a quote right now for 250 tons going out to Ocala, Florida. Whoa. So I mean, it's a great product, and we've got 3 different types. We've got a fibered product, we've got a non-fibered ThorTurf, we've got a ProTurf. So I can't say enough about it because it's been pretty exciting these days.
Will most of those customers have somebody on hand that does the installation, or does FarmPaint send somebody out there with it to make sure it's installed correctly?
Well, kind of funny that you ask. So I have sent a contractor out to the Ocala farm. He's out there today meeting them to give them a quote on installing 250 tons of ThorTurf. So wow. His name is Brett Raflowitz. He's with ESI. He's a great guy, does an amazing job with installing our footing, and we send them out to many jobs. So, and we have other guys that we send out as well. So it's all good. Yeah,
it's a one-stop shop, if you will. And again, FarmPaint, FarmPaint.com. You can hear from Lori and Bethany. They are here to service their clients in the highest manner possible. And Bethany, you've been doing that a long time too. ThorTurf and EquiClear is another product that we always talk about in conjunction with ThorTurf. But tell me more about EquiClear and what you're hearing from people on both of those sides.
Yeah, so like Lori said, a lot of these guys are putting it in their breeding sheds. We've just installed 2 more breeding sheds in central Kentucky. It's great for the stallions. You can, maneuver it, and they're not slipping on it, and it's giving them a lot of cushion, yet it's dustless, so the horses aren't breathing anything in that they shouldn't be. The workers, it's good for them. But then if you're not wanting to replace your entire footing, we do have a product called EquiClear. The application lasts about a year, and then therefore every year after that, you're adding less and less until it's dustless completely. But that application does last for a year, but it's a product that you add to your existing arena footing that will make it dustless so that your horses and the riders or people working with the horses aren't breathing in a lot of dust particles. So it's pretty awesome.
There is also another part of FarmPaint, if you will. It's called Tenda Horse Products. Tell me more about Tenda, and then I'm going to get to a brand new product. I've been saving that one for last, Bethany, but tell me a little bit more about Tenda.
Yeah, so Tenda, we've got something for everybody. One of our biggest sellers is the Sheen. because it doesn't have alcohol in it, so it's not going to make the hair brittle and dry out and break off. Our shampoo is fantastic, smells wonderful. We've got First in Show, which is an aerosol spray that will give you that nice show ring look. We've got a lot of wonderful products with 10-to-horse products. All of our products have been used and experimented with to make sure that, you know, they're good for horse and people. Like all of our products, everything that we put on the market, it has been tried and true before we release it. So, but no, we've got a lot of great products. We've got paste, we've got poultice, we've got a medicated and original poultice. A lot of the yearling and weanling guys are using it right now, and all very affordable prices.
Okay, I saved this one for the grand finale. There is a brand new product that FarmPaint is now offering. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so we just acquired Roto Hero this year. We are all very excited about it. It is an arena drag. It is great for synthetic footings, but it also works on a dirt arena or any kind of ground. But there's no hydraulics. It's very simple. No PTO. It's ground driven, and it's just absolutely fantastic. We offer a round one in multiple sizes, a 5, 6, and 8 foot. And then we also offer a dragster in several sizes, you know, for the smaller arenas that you just have a small ATV or four-wheeler. So we've got something for everybody. And again, at very affordable prices. You know, you don't have to worry about hydraulics going out or having a PTO. All you need is a 3-point hitch, and, you know, very simple, but sometimes simple is best.
Yeah, sometimes simple is the way to go, and it sounds like that new product is going to be sensational. Again, you can go to FarmPaint.com to learn more. You can get in touch with Lori Douglas or Bethany Walton. They will help you, as you just heard, in any possible way that they can, and they always go above and beyond. And, Lori, I really, really appreciate all the support here on the network, and it truly is a delight to help you every single year.
Well, we always look forward to this time every year, Mike, and yeah, you all have been awesome to us, and we've had a long-lasting relationship. So, yeah, let's keep it going. And once again, if you call FarmPaint.com at 1-877-441-3276, it's connected right to my cell phone. And if I can't help you and I'm busy, Bethany gets that call also. So we are here to help.
Bethany, really appreciate the visit.
Absolutely. Just to piggyback on what Lori said, all of our products can be found at www.farmpaint.com. It can take you to ThorTurf. It can take you to EquiClear. It can take you to the 10-to-horse products as well. Roto Hero will be added to that hopefully shortly. But again, if you talk to Lori or we can get you in the right direction.
Great stuff, ladies. Keep it rolling. Really appreciate the time here this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Lori Douglas, Bethany Walton, FarmPaint, FarmPaint.com, as you just heard, your place to go. When I come back, you heard that call of Silent Tactic winning the Southwest Stakes. I mentioned Mark Casse's 0-for-11 mark in the Kentucky Derby. This could be the year. Who knows? Nobody knows who's going to win next Saturday, but Mark Casse's hoping it's going to be him. When I come back, Kevin Kerstein joins me live from Churchill Downs. It's a busy morning. I will ask him his thoughts on Silent Tactic and so many of the other contenders we're seeing on the racetrack this morning. That's all ahead right after your Legends of the Turf and this short commercial break.
This is the story of a thoroughbred who, without any reservation whatsoever, by name alone, conjures up images of greatness. The greatness and adulation of the American public that is reserved in the very front row of the heroes of sport. That horse was Seabiscuit. There are horses and there are horses, as the saying goes, and although all great horses are fast, not all fast horses are great. This horse is of very special significance because he was indeed one of a mere handful of the past 100 years who, through public adulation, became a true hero in the very ilk of the word itself. His story could well be the prototype of a Horatio Alger story, the consummate personification of the great American dream. In singular microcosm, he was what American racing is indeed all about. Seabiscuit was bred by the Wheatley stable, foaled in 1933 at Claiborne stud of Arthur B. Hancock. He was the son of Hardtack out of Swing On by Wisbroom II. As a yearling, he was shipped to Hialeah along with several other yearlings by the redoubtable Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons. On January 19, 1935, he went to the post as a 2-year-old for the first time in a claiming event in which he finished a nondescript fourth while earning $50. 3 days later, he ran in another claimer over a distance of 3 furlongs and finished second, beaten 2 lengths by a horse called Clapping Jane. Either Clapping Jane or Seabiscuit could have been claimed from that field for $2,500. Clapping Jane never won again and wound up in Puerto Rico as a broodmare. It took 18 races for Seabiscuit to find a field of horses he could finally beat. That race was at Narragansett Park in Rhode Island, for a purse of $750 on June 22, 1935. He then won the Watch Hill Claiming Stakes, named for the posh Rhode Island resort, for which he banked $2,800. He won 4 claiming races and was nearly claimed by Hirsch Jacobs in the process, but Jacobs felt he had highly suspicious knees. If only he knew what he had passed up at the time. Seabiscuit was sold in August of 1936 as a 3-year-old to Mr. Charles S. Howard for $7,500, and an association was born with that is legendary. The purchase was made on the advice of Silent Tom Smith, who, while looking over Seabiscuit, remarked there was, quote, a look of the Eagles, unquote, in him. It took Seabiscuit until the Brooklyn Handicap at the age of 4 to exhibit his championship medal. From that race on, he was sensational. There were 3 occasions subsequently wherein he was defeated through the efforts of a jockey named Nick Wall. Wall got his mount through a hole left on the rail by the Biscuits rider Red Pollard to win by a whisker in the Bowie Handicap at Pimlico in 1937. In the 1938 Santa Anita Handicap, Seabiscuit, carrying 130 pounds, had too much taken out of him by rider Georgie the Iceman Wolf, and Wall brought Stagehand from off the pace for a win. And in 1939, when Wall piloted Today to another win over the Biscuit. Seabiscuit finally realized C.S. Howard's fondest dream by winning the Santa Anita Handicap on his 3rd try in 1940, when Red Pollard again had the mount. That was a well-chronicled, well-remembered race in which 2 superb athletes, both in the twilight of careers, both horse and rider, went out in a blaze of glory before an adoring public. It was the way the script should end, the stuff of a Frank Capra film. Seabiscuit was a failure at stud, but he retired from the racing wars as the world's leading money-winning thoroughbred. From an initial purse of $50 in 1935 and a meteoric rise to success, he was the very fiber of the lore, legend, and mystique of thoroughbred racing.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up, and if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And they're off.
It's a new era for the Maryland Jockey Club at Laurel Park. The new Pimlico Racecourse will honor more than 151 years of racing history while embracing a bold, modern future. And now more than ever, it pays to be Maryland bred. With more than $17 million in added incentives offered annually, Maryland is one of the most attractive and sustainable jurisdictions for racing locally bred horses. Be part of the new era. Visit Pimlico.com.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
Holly's Holiday is going to win the Valley of the Vapors Stakes, and she wins it easily.
Here's Ivy Girl at AP's Girl. Ivy Girl to do it at 25-1.
What a weekend for Darley Stallion Maxfield, who was represented by 2 stakes winners this past week, with Holly's Holiday winning the Valley of the Vapors to become the 3rd stakes winner and 13th black type performer. And then Ivy Girl doubled her stakes haul in the Weber City Miss. Those efforts make Holly's Holiday and Ivy Girl your Darley Taking the Reins Performers of the Week. Darley Stallion Maxfield, 17% career black type horses from starters. No stallion under 100,000 can top that. In addition to Holly's Holiday and Ivy Girl, Maxfield is also represented by his undefeated Kentucky Derby contender, Japanese record breaker Dannon Bourbon.
Learn more about Maxfield and all the Darley Stallions by visiting darleyamerica.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Just over a quarter mile to come. Top of the stretch of the Toyota Bluegrass. Further ado, moving forward to the far outside to take the lead off the far turn. Creole Chrome is now second. Great White Trumps back third. Talkin is in fourth. Into the final furlong. It's Further Ado by 5. Further Ado by 6. By 8. We've seen this before. Here he comes to the 16th pole. A magnificent run to win the Grade 1 Toyota Bluegrass. Further Ado, Irad Ortiz Jr. Spendthrift wins the Bluegrass. Otino did rally up to be second, followed by Talkin in third, and Creole Chrome fourth, 1 minute 49.59 seconds.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you. A little pumped up this morning, 1 week away from the Run for the Roses. You know, that road to the Derby started in September of last year at Churchill Downs with the first Road to the Kentucky Derby points race, and now it culminates with the greatest 2 minutes in sports beneath those TwinSpires next weekend. And Kevin Kerstein has joined me many times over the course of this Road to the Kentucky Derby series, and he's always so fantastic at knowing exactly who's doing what. Kevin, there was some news that came out just a short time ago when Steve Asmussen talked about Chip Honcho. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Steve Asmussen was just doing an interview with Andy Biancone, his future daughter-in-law, on FanDuel TV, and let everybody know that Chip Honcho will bypass the Kentucky Derby and will target the Preakness Stakes, and that will put litmus test into the body of the field for Kentucky Derby 152. So those entries are currently happening now for Kentucky Derby 152, sort of putting together all the also eligibles and things of that nature. So every Derby contender, if they plan on entering both either in the body or on the also eligibles, has to be here by 11 a.m. today. So Chip Honcho officially going to target the Preakness and not enter the Kentucky Derby, which puts litmus into the field.
Well, I mentioned the name Further Ado because we heard that call coming out of the commercial break. And in just a little bit, 9 o'clock Eastern, Ned Toffey of Spendthrift is going to join me. They, of course, the owners of Further Ado. Mark Casse going to join me later in the program, too, right around 9:20. And he's hoping that Silent Tactic can get him off the duck in the Kentucky Derby this year. Tell me about what's been going on. I bring up Further Ado because I know he was one of the horses on the track this morning.
Yeah, make sure you ask Ned about. He was a great Uber driver to me this morning. For the Further Ado work. It was this horse has just turned every head in the mornings, Mike, and it was really the action was at barn 22 for Brad Cox all morning with his 3 Derby contenders. Further Ado and Commandment were the first 2 horses to work this morning at 5:15. Further Ado, a very solid 5/8 move in a minute. He's just always a typically strong moving horse. Brad typically works him by himself, and he said he was trying to go back and look at some of his notes to see when he last worked him in company, because he's always a good workhorse, and you can just see he gets a lot out of his training, which is the exact opposite of what Commandment does, who worked right after Further Ado. And Commandment always has to seem to have to work in company, and he did work in company this morning, and he went 5/8 and 101 and 2. Commandment's the type of horse where he is not the best looking horse in the mornings. He does not certainly bat an eye, and a lot of people sort of see his quirks at him just training in the mornings. And you see that sometimes in his races too, where, he just needs a lot of encouragement. And he worked this morning. And the thing that impressed me the most about this work is when he got by his workmate around the far turn, he flicked his ears up in the air. So basically he just had a lot left in the tank, is what his rider said, but he just sort of shuts himself down after he completes his daily tasks, and that's why what you see in some of these races too, of when he is able to stick his head in front of the wire, and he just sort of is a smart horse and doesn't do a whole lot of extra of what he doesn't need to do. And then Brad's third horse, Full Effort, who will test dirt for the first time. He worked solo 5/8 and 59, and he is one of those type of horses where it's a very much a wild card in this year's Kentucky Derby, because if he can handle the dirt surface, he'll be making one big run under Tyler Gaffalione. And he certainly has turned some heads here at Churchill Downs, because the way that he's trained on the dirt. Brad has said he wasn't impressive on the dirt at all as a 2-year-old. That's why they aimed to run him on the grass. And even this winter at Turfway Park, his rider, Edvin Vargas, basically said that, he's got over the surface fine, but he's turned into a completely different horse since he's arrived here at Churchill Downs. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing full effort if he can handle the dirt here at Churchill Downs. So that was the main action from Brad Cox's barn here this morning. Right to Party also worked, Pashmina also worked, and then Chip Honcho worked and has now decided to bypass the Kentucky Derby to go in the Preakness Stakes.
Kevin, every year at this time, there's a horse or two that kind of emerge as that under-the-radar buzz horse. Is it too early for that to happen 1 week out, or have you seen a couple that maybe you're starting to hear some rumblings about?
It's so intriguing to me with this year's Kentucky Derby because I think going into the race, if you would ask me that 3 weeks ago, it was sort of the big three between Renegade, Commandment, and Further Ado. Those were the three legitimate favorites, and then there was maybe a gap to several others. But then you see how Chief Wallaby worked over this racetrack. Then you look at the Puma when he galloped today and physically how he looks. Then you look at a horse like Full Effort, how he's getting over the dirt surface. It is a very interesting decision to try and, coin that buzz horse of this year's Kentucky Derby. I'd sort of lean towards Full Effort getting that spot just because of him being a wild card handling the dirt, and his works have been very solid over the dirt as well. So I'd sort of put him in that spot right now, but I'm really looking forward to seeing a couple other horses over this racetrack for the first time that we'll see in the coming days. Denon Bourbon arrived here yesterday. He sort of just jogged and walked around the racetrack this morning, but he'll have more of a serious training session tomorrow, and he is a big, imposing son of Maxfield. And he has really caught my eye physically when I've seen him. I'm actually looking across the way at his barn right now, at barn 17. You can see him. He's just a striking son of Maxfield. In his 3-race undefeated streak, he was impressive in all 3 of those starts. So I think he might be able to elevate himself into that spot should he make a favorable impression over the next couple of days.
Yeah, that's our poll question this morning that so many of our listeners are weighing in on. I asked which of the 3 foreign horses will have the biggest impact, not win, but have the biggest impact in the Kentucky Derby. It sounds to me like Denon Bourbon might be your choice.
Yeah, I've been on record selecting him as my Kentucky Derby pick in this year's Derby. I feel like this is a Derby now that with all of these horses that are gaining the buzz horses and really making favorable impressions since they got here. Look, they should all make favorable impressions. They're the top of the 3-year-old class, and they should all be looking well. But I haven't been able to draw a line through a lot of these horses, and so when I'm gambling on the Derby, when you have Renegade, Commandment, Further Ado, all between 4 and 6 to 1, Chief Wallaby maybe at 10 to 1. Denon Bourbon could be double the price of a Chief Wallaby, and I think he's very much has an equal shot as a Chief Wallaby does. So the price might be right on him. That's why I'm sort of leaning towards him. But it is a very fascinating Derby with a lot of contenders that I wouldn't be surprised wear those roses next Saturday.
Yeah, horses like Chief Wallaby, and so happy the Santa Anita Derby winner, Silent Tactic from Mark Casse, Emerging Market, the Louisiana Derby winner. They have all worked previous to this weekend. So tell me what you saw from them earlier in the week.
A lot of those were just sort of some maintenance moves, I think, coming into the Derby. And so, a lot of the times the screws are tight, they're ready to go. They're just trying to get those horses through the next 7 days to get here to Churchill Downs. The one work that has turned my head of a horse that was here earlier this week is Litmus Test, who was in Arkansas for a lot of the winter time with Dan Ward, who has now officially taken the job as Bob Baffert's assistant trainer here at Churchill Downs. And this horse was very impressive working out of the gate with Martin Garcia aboard. He worked 5/8 and 59. He galloped out very strong after that work, and it was sort of visually designed that his workmate was only going to go 3/8 of a mile. So he was supposed to gallop out way in front of his workmate, but the way that he did it, he's one of those where I wouldn't be surprised if he could sneak up into a superfecta spot if you're playing a super high 5. Because he's the type of horse where I don't think he had the most favorable trips in his starts down at Oaklawn. And so if he's able to, work out a trip in that first flight of horses, then he could be dangerous to hang on for a piece of things in the Derby.
How about on the ladies' side of things with the Kentucky Oaks? Let's not neglect them. Brendan Walsh was on the program with me a couple of weeks ago. We talked about Bella Ballerina and how good she has been throughout her career. And he said she kind of gives him that pretty mischievous feel. And, of course, that worked out pretty well for Brendan back in 2023 with her winning the Kentucky Oaks. She worked yesterday. Meaning worked yesterday as well, the Santa Anita Oaks winner. Tell me what you saw from them.
Yeah, they were both, Bella Ballerina and Meaning, were very impressive. They were actually coming down the stretch about, maybe a 16th of a mile apart. So they were very much, got a good look at them when they were coming down the stretch. And Bella Ballerina, just sort of reading the tea leaves through Brendan, wasn't really reminding him at first as pretty mischievous, but she has certainly come along and been very impressive. He said he just sort of needs her to find the right spot in the race, and he said he doesn't really think that she's gotten into the best location in the race, meaning being further in front of horses. So he's been working her behind horses. Yesterday, he worked her behind a workmate. Tyler Gaffleone was aboard her. He came up the rail, and she galloped out very well. Meaning is one of those horses where I don't think that there could be a wrong favorite between about 7 horses, and it wouldn't surprise me if she goes off as the favorite in the Kentucky Oaks for Michael McCarthy, and she's been very impressive in her work over here at the racetrack. And then later on yesterday morning, Mike, we saw Prom Queen, who had her final work for the Kentucky Oaks, and she's a very quirky filly, and she trains late in the morning. She's I don't know how well she's going to handle the crowd, but boy, oh boy, is she a good moving filly. And so if she's able to handle things and put things together on Friday, I can't throw her out of the mix just the way that she's gotten over this racetrack and looked since she's gotten back here to Churchill Downs.
Kevin Kerstein joining me live from Churchill Downs this Saturday before the Kentucky Derby. Kevin, no post position in Derby history has produced more winners than post position number 5. 10 horses have come from that post to win the Run for the Roses. We're going to find out later this afternoon which horse draws post 5. Tell me about what folks can expect this afternoon at Churchill.
Yeah, we'll have the post position draw for both the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby right between races 3 and 4 this afternoon at Churchill Downs. Early post time this year for the opening day spring meet card at Churchill Downs at 12:45. So right around 2 to 3 p.m. you can stream the post position drive live on the Kentucky Derby social media channels. We'll draw the Oaks first and then the Derby. And we'll draw both of the undercard races for those both days today as well. So I would expect, for all the horse players out there, I'll post on X the best I can the stakes fields and the stakes rundowns for all the undercard races. But we'll probably have an overnight out for both Friday and Saturday. I'd say by dinner time this evening. So it's going to be a very exciting day. But the post position draw 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. You can catch all that on the Kentucky Derby social media channels.
Historically, post 5 is the place to be. The one place you don't want to be is post 17. The only post in Derby history never to produce a Derby winner among the top 20. 0 for 46. Not a place you want to be, but you got to figure at some point that streak comes to an end.
Yeah, eventually the right horse will get to that spot and eventually come to an end. But I bet that there'll be a lot of people holding their breaths and maybe some gasps from the audience if a horse draws that post, especially one of the big 3 favorites.
Well, Sovereignty was post 16 last year, so it can happen from out there. We'll see how this unfolds 1 week from today. Kevin, before I let you go, it is opening day. Derby week kicking off today. You have 10 races. You have the Roxelana Stakes as the feature. What's coming up this afternoon at Churchill?
Yeah, it'll be a great card and kickoff to the 44-day spring meet this afternoon. You mentioned the Roxelana Stakes, named after just such a great filly who has such great Kentucky ties. And then we'll have Sunday Fun Day. The first day, Sunday Fun Day, is returned to racing and scheduled for Kentucky Derby week in several years. We'll have that tomorrow, and then we'll be off Monday and then racing Tuesday through Derby Day. First post Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 12:45, and then of course Oaks Day running under the lights with the first post of 12:30. The Oaks will go off in the 8 o'clock hour, and then Derby Day the next day with 14 races and the Kentucky Derby right around 7 o'clock Eastern time. It's a great week. We're just so supportive of everybody for this entire week. It's a fun week of racing. This is what we work these long hours in the sport for, and I can't wait to see you and your coverage out here, Mike, for the next week.
Yeah, it all kicks off Tuesday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, the first of 3 Derby countdown shows here on HRRN, all live from Churchill Downs, and you're going to hear from so many of the top connections associated with the Oaks and the Kentucky Derby, and even a little handicapping sprinkled in for you to help you pick a winner. Those shows are always so much fun. And, by the way, live updates as horses are on the track for you, too. Kevin, before I said before I let you go, I had one more question. I have one more. I said Roxalana. You said Roxalana. Is this a tomato thing, or have I made the first mistake in my radio career?
Well, I was going to correct you on the spot that you had, the commercial leading into this segment of Dan and Bourbon. I think Travis Stone's going to call him Danon Bourbon, but it is a tomato. We're in Kentucky. We say Versailles instead of Versailles, so I'll let you go. I'll let you go with, making that mistake. But
so wait, so I made 2 mistakes today?
I didn't want to call you out on the 2, but,
Wow.
I've always heard Roxalana, but I could be wrong. I mean, the Flyers certainly haven't been wrong against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're up 3-0 in the series. The Eagles stole a pick from the Steelers the other day, so it's not a good time to be a fan of anything in the Pittsburgh area.
I have no idea how my producer, Lee Delapina, didn't cut you off in mid-sentence right there. Enough. Kevin Kerstein, enjoy the Derby, man. Have fun, and, there you go. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Thanks for having me, Mike.
KK, Kevin Kerstein. More KK coming your way later with Kevin Kilroy in the TwinSpires Triple Play, 10 o'clock Eastern. But hour 2 is straight ahead, right after this short commercial break, and this week's edition of Calling All 3-Year-Olds, presented by Spendthrift on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your Social Security number or other personal information and tell you that your Social Security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your Social Security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment. Email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for and there they go. Almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fan favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
HRRN is proud to bring you the Derby Countdown. Bobby Neuman and Jude Feld will broadcast live from trackside and bring you interviews with trainers, jockeys, owners, and other racing insiders. Plus, keep you informed with up-to-the-minute news leading up to the Kentucky Derby. The Derby Countdown, presented by Hill & Dale at Alapa, Tuesday through Thursday morning during Derby Week at Churchill Downs. Go to horseracingradio.net for more information or to listen live. This is HRRN, where racing comes to talk.
They're all in line. And they're off.
Spendthrift Farm presents Calling all 3-year-olds with Bobby Neuman.
We're officially in the no news is good news part of the road to the Kentucky Derby. The field of 20 is set, well, kind of. We just hope everyone comes out of their final workouts in good order, eats all their feed, and doesn't have any minor issues or illnesses pop up. We did have one defection earlier this week. Trainer Chad Brown announced that, barring some, quote, weird changes with the prospective field, Gotham Stakes champ Iron Honor would skip the Kentucky Derby and point for the Preakness on May 16th instead. This moves Steve Asmussen's Chip Honcho into the field. He figures to be a pace factor next Saturday, but a huge long shot to get the roses. This in turn moves SoCal-based runners Intrepido and Litmus Test up to 21st and 22nd on the points list to make the field. Then on Thursday, trainer Michael McCarthy announced that Stark Contrast would run on the American turf rather than the Kentucky Derby. This allows the Jeff Mullins trainee Intrepido into the Derby field. There are two big Derby events happening at Churchill Downs today. First, the deadline for all Kentucky Derby runners to be on the grounds, no matter where they've been based, is 11 a.m. Eastern. Then the fun really begins with the Kentucky Derby post-position draw this afternoon at 2 p.m. I'll be back with this week's top 5 list right after this word from Spendthrift.
Cyberknife was a very talented horse from day one. Fast horse, able to carry it around 2 turns. Looks a tremendous amount like Gunrunner, same ability and talent. Holds the track record in the Haskell. He won it in impressive fashion, beating a very good group of horses. Excited about him passing on his durability, his soundness, and his talent. He could definitely be a breed-shaping stallion.
Multiple Grade 1 winner Cyberknife, standing at Spendthrift.
This week's top 5 list of Derby contenders looks like this. Number 5, Wonder Dean. He tracked down a lonely leader in Dubai, and Japan runners have proven that they're serious threats when racing in the U.S. Number 4 is the Puma. He continues to fire big shots every time he runs. Hard to deny his talent. Number 3, Chief Wallaby. Got outmoved in the Florida Derby while racing on the bad part of the track. He still has room to improve. Number 2, Commandment. Big wins in 3 major 3-year-old stakes at Gulfstream. If he carries that form to Churchill, he's a major player. And number 1 is Renegade. His stretch runs in the Sam Davis and Arkansas Derby were super impressive. He deserves to be the Kentucky Derby favorite. That's your Calling All 3-Year-Olds segment presented by Spendthrift, the Breeders' Farm.
Well, if you're going to be in Central Kentucky, as so many of you are for Kentucky Derby Week, and you're staying in Lexington or around that, maybe even in Louisville, and you want to make the drive to Lexington, well worth it to visit Tony's of Lexington. It is, I'm telling you right now, the best steak you will ever have. And I've told you this for years on the program. I don't know how else to say it. I've traveled all over with HRRN, and I'm a huge steak and potatoes guy, and I've never had a steak like Tony's of Lexington. I told you a couple of weeks ago that one of our listeners wrote in. They were at Keeneland for Bluegrass Stakes. They went to visit Tony's with their family and wrote to thank me for the recommendation because it was so good. And you'll do the same. I can promise you. Tony's of Lexington, they're on Main Street right behind Rupp Arena. Make your reservations now. Get in to see them. If you're going to be in town for the horse sales coming up later this summer, make sure you get your reservations now and enjoy an incredible meal. Great atmosphere, wonderful people. It is Tony's of Lexington. And try the Sir Barton, by the way. It's my favorite. I'm back with Hour 2. Right after this 10-second pause for station identification, this is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Fast-moving, busy morning here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you right up until 11 a.m. Eastern. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, my conversation getting you ready for spring with the folks at FarmPaint, Lori Douglas and Bethany Walton, or that fantastic interview with Kevin Kerstein just a few minutes ago where he updated you on everything happening around Churchill Downs with the Oaks and Derby horses, not just this weekend, but what's happened earlier in the week. If you missed it, head back to the website after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can check out the podcast whenever you have some time. That's horseracingradio.net. You can do that, too, on any podcast platform. Just type in Horse Racing Radio Network and follow along with this show and all the shows we bring your way. Update on the poll question for you. I'm asking you which foreign horse will have the biggest impact in next week's Kentucky Derby. Danon Bourbon, Wonder Dean, the Japanese horse who won the UAE Derby, or the horse that was runner-up to him in the UAE Derby, 6-Speed. Which of those three will have the biggest impact? Not necessarily win, but make the biggest impact. So far, 50% of you saying it is going to be the UAE Derby winner, Wonder Dean. Keep those votes coming at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net, to let me know your thoughts on that question. Well, if you recall, when the Road to the Kentucky Derby Series began last September at Churchill Downs, it led to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, which was won by Ted Toffey. And everybody was raving about the champ. He was brilliant. And it looked like he was going to be the horse to beat when we got to this point and eventually the first Saturday in May. Well, that is not to be. But Spendthrift is not, let me tell you, the cupboard is not bare because they have the Bluegrass winner, Further Ado, set to go next Saturday. He worked this morning, and he is a tough son of a gun. My goodness, is he dominant when he wants to be. And Ned Toffey, I keep wanting to call him Ted Toffey now, but Ned Toffey from Spendthrift joins me right now. Ned, good morning, brother.
Good morning. How are you, Mike?
Good. I'm telling you, I keep wanting to say Ted Toffey now. He's become a household name.
That's all right. I forget myself sometimes, so I'll answer to anything.
Hey, Kevin Kerstein was with me a short time ago. He said you're one hell of an Uber driver.
Well, you do what you got to do, right? Maybe that's my future.
It could be. Man, let me ask you about Further Ado. How good is this horse?
I guess we're going to find out. It's an interesting horse because we bought him last spring at OBS at a 2-year-old in training sale. He was able to progress and go right on into training and ran a couple times and. We're a little disappointed, and it took him till his third start to break his maiden. But, first time he went around 2 turns was that day at Keeneland where he just took off and didn't stop and won by 20 lengths. And we suddenly felt much better about our purchase. And he just really hadn't looked back. He might have bounced a little bit off that race, but it was still enough to get a win in the Kentucky Jockey Club, and came out of that, needed just a little break after that, and then the Tampa was really very much a prep for the Bluegrass. For us, the Bluegrass was really an important target because we wanted to get this horse a Grade 1 because that would really put him squarely in our stud barn. And so we were really happy that we were able to accomplish that. And hopefully he'll remember this Saturday what he did a month ago and try to repeat.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame that the Derby isn't being run about an hour east of Churchill Downs, huh?
It's interesting because, he looks so good in that breeze. And I honestly think it's easy to see why you would look at his form and say, oh, he loves Keeneland. And he certainly does love Keeneland. But I think he's a good horse anywhere. I think he loves 2 turns. But I'm hopeful that he can run a big race. And again, like I said, I think he's a good horse anywhere. But I will say I'm not totally disappointed that the Breeders' Cup's at Keeneland.
I'm sure you're not. He might be 1-9 right now for the Breeders' Cup Classic.
It's on just if you're just gonna take the form at face value. It's hard to argue with that.
Yeah, 2 wins at Keeneland, a Grade 1, and by the way, those 2 wins coming back combined 31 lengths for Spendthrift Farms. Further Ado. You'll get the Hall of Famer Johnny V in the irons. Erod Ortiz choosing to go with the Todd Pletcher-trained Renegade, but Johnny V's not a bad substitute, is he?
No, not at all. And of course, we were fortunate enough to win with Authentic with Johnny V aboard a few years ago. So, we felt pretty good about where we were going to be. We didn't know whether Irad would choose us or Renegade, but we kind of had the thought that he would go the way he did, and certainly can't blame him for that. But we felt like we were going to have our choice of two or three different people that are really, really good, and certainly would love to have Irad aboard. Also, at the same time, thrilled to have Johnny aboard.
What did Brad say about that workout this morning? Did you have a chance to talk with him afterwards?
Yeah, he was very, very happy with it, as was Johnny, and just the way he did it, he's very much in the bridle and just zipped around that turn on the gallop out and just kept rolling and looked like he would go around again if he needed to. So very happy particularly with the way he did it. So I think it was really what Brad was looking for. And I think we're knock on wood, at the moment we feel like we're in a good spot.
Ned, news came out this morning, just a short time ago, that Chip Honcho is going to skip the Kentucky Derby, point for the Preakness for Steve Asmussen. That puts litmus test into the Derby, which means that 25% of the field in this year's Kentucky Derby is going to be sired by a Spendthrift stallion. You have Commandment, Renegade, and Potente, all sons of Into Mischief. Incredibolt, a son of Bolt Doro. Litmus test, Maximus Mischief. How proud of you of that fact alone? Yeah, very much. But and it's actually it's Intrepido, not litmus test, but correct. Intrepido is the Maximus Mischief, and I forgot if you mentioned Albus, a son of Yaupon. I missed that one. My goodness, when there's so many. And then Destino d'Oro. So our stallions have got 6 spots in the starting gate, and then with Further Ado, who is, I think, knock on wood, a future stallion. So we've got 7 spots in the starting gate, and it's really great to see. Look, it's not an easy game, and we go out there and we acquire these colts to stand at stud, and it's not an easy game. So when they can sire a horse that gets to the Derby, that's pretty special, and we've been very, very fortunate this year. What's more special, Ned, for you and for the team, to have a horse that you own, even if it's not by one of your sires, win the Kentucky Derby, such as Further Ado, or a horse that you don't own that's by one of your sires? Which one is more? I guess they're both special, right? They are. We've sort of had a laugh about it that we're certainly going to be rooting for Further Ado, but it's if one of the others ends up being the winner, that's a pretty good consolation prize. So I guess a seven-way photo would probably be. Dead heat would probably be a little too much to ask for, but it's a lot of rooting interests, but no question, we're happy when one of the offspring does well, and of course if Into Mischief can pull that off, that would put him alone as the stallion who sired the most Derby winners of all time. So that would be pretty special. He's tied with about 4 other horses now with 3. So if he were to get one this year, that'll make him sire of 4 Derby winners, and no other horse has done that. So he's really gotten into pretty rarefied air, and the historical context has just been, really, really remarkable for him. So, pretty special set of accomplishments for Into Mischief at this point in his career. Ned, I received a question from a listener, which I'm going to ask Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin when they join me at 10:30 Eastern on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer here on the show. It comes from Sarah in North Carolina, and her question involves Into Mischief, and with the likely Derby favorites Renegade, Commandment, both being sons of Into Mischief, she wants to know what makes a stallion like Into Mischief so successful. Is it physical, mental, maybe a combination of both, or something different?
Well, she's going to be very disappointed with the answer, but the most honest answer that I can tell you is I have no idea. I don't. Wayne Hughes, who is we consider sort of the modern day founder, he's the gentleman that revitalized Spendthrift, and he was a brilliant man. And he had a great expression about the horse business that applies to almost all things horse business. And he used to love to say, nobody knows. And as far as which ones of your crop's going to be the runner when they're very young, you're looking ahead. And who's going to be the runner? Nobody knows. Which stallion is going to make it and which one isn't. Into Mischief in his second year, it said he was $6,500, and we had to think of an incentive program to convince people to breed to him. So neither us nor anybody in the breeding public knew what this horse was going to be. And so we can talk about the traits, and I think, yes, he throws speed, he throws precocity, he throws stamina. He throws generally really good-minded horses, mentally tough horses, competitive horses. So those are all the kinds of traits, and I think the mental part is really important. So those are certainly the traits he throws. But as to why he throws them so consistently and other horses that were maybe more accomplished racehorses do not, I don't think anybody can really answer that question, and maybe it's a good thing that we can't, because otherwise, the wealthiest guy would just have all the best horses. But I think that's one of the things that's so special about this game, and it kind of keeps it even. That a good horse can really come from anywhere.
Ned, I was remiss in mentioning at the beginning of our conversation that this segment on the show is presented by the Kentucky Thoroughbred Development and Breeders Incentive Funds, which paid a record $20 million in awards to breeders participating in the KBIF program last year for racing in 2025. How incredible is this? Is the amount of money that's available now, and this KBIF program and breeding and racing in the Bluegrass State?
Yeah, it really is special. The industry within the state and the legislators here have done a great job in putting all of this together so that it works. Because as we know, a lot of this stuff is, it comes from nomination fees, but it also comes from sales tax on stud fees. So there's, it's been very much a industry and local government effort to get all this stuff in the position that it's in now, put the industry in the position that it's in now, and there's certainly a lot of wonderful state programs, but Kentucky is just as solid as it can be from a racing and breeding standpoint. That's as it should be, really as it should be.
Well said. Ned Toffey, COO, General Manager, Spendthrift Farm, owners of Further Ado. Ned, good luck with Further Ado next weekend. Good luck with your stallions and their runners as well. Keep it rolling.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Yeah, what a fun conversation. Always great to catch up with Ned. A record $20 million in awards was paid to breeders participating in the Kentucky Thoroughbred Breeders Incentive Fund program last year for racing in 2025. KBIF has provided more than $250 million to breeders of Kentucky breds winning eligible races worldwide since the program was implemented in 2005. And Kentucky remains one of the leading racing jurisdictions, paying out $239 million in combined association purse and Kentucky Thoroughbred Development Funds for an average of $112,648 per race and an average field size of 8.8 in 2025. Make sure your horse is KTDF and KBIF eligible to secure your share of lucrative awards worldwide. For more information on thoroughbred racing and breeding in Kentucky, visit KentuckyBreds.com or register KBIF.com. Mark Casse joins me next here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
During intense exercise, a racehorse can move more than 1,500 liters of air every minute, and most of the resistance to that airflow occurs in the nasal passages. Flair nasal strips support the nasal passages, reducing airway resistance and the work of breathing. When breathing requires less effort, horses conserve energy and experience less fatigue. In controlled studies, Flair has also been shown to reduce the severity of EIPH. Flair nasal strips. Performance starts at the nose.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Here's War of Will, and he got to an opening on the inside of the gate pole. Owendale is storming down the center of the track, but it's War of Will coming down to the 16th pole in front. In front by 2 lengths late. A late charge from Longshot Everfast on the inside too, but nothing stood in his way. War of Will won the Preakness. Sir Winston comes up on the outside, and he got in front of War of Will. And Sir Winston has moved to the center of the track under Joel Rosario to take the lead. On the inside, Jovia fights on. Tacitus is there, and then catch between horses. Master Fencer on the far outside. They're coming to the finish, and Sir Winston has won the Belmont Stakes.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Hall of Famer Mark Casse has added 2 of the 3 Triple Crown races to his resume. The Preakness with War of Will in 2019, Sir Winston winning the Belmont that same year. Larry Colmus had the calls that you just heard. And the dual Hall of Famer is hoping to end his Derby drought and add that one to his resume this year with Silent Tactic, the Southwest winner. Mark, good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Mike. I never get tired of hearing those 2 calls.
I'm sure you don't. Is this the year you finally add that one to your resume?
I hope so. You know, I've been here a few times thinking that I had a shot and you know, had unfortunate trips. So we're cautiously optimistic.
You came really close in 2019 to sweeping the Triple Crown with War of Will and with Sir Winston, and it won't look like that when you say, okay, War of Will was 7th in the Kentucky Derby. But, boy, he was making that run on the far turn that year. And I know you and I have talked about this before. Your heartbeat went to a new level.
Yeah, it's interesting, Mike, and I don't know if I've told you this before, but Norman was standing with me, and we were watching in the paddock. We always watch with our entire family because it's the only way to get everybody together. And about the 3/8 pole, Norman put his arm around me and said, "Dad, you're going to win the Kentucky Derby." And then, of course, maximum security took us out at the top of the lane.
That's such a hard race to win. So much everything has to go right. You have to get every single break. What's the key to Silent Tactic, getting the right breaks?
Not just in the race itself, but, you know, for everything leading up to it, you can have, you know, it's just so many things, and that's what makes it so difficult. But that's why it is what it is. It's the Kentucky Derby. You know, for the non-racing fan, most of them, that's the only race they've ever heard of.
Yeah, it's the horse race. You can say what you want about the other races, but the Kentucky Derby is the most iconic horse race in the world. Silent Tactic, Mark, is the horse you're hoping to break through with this year. What's the key for him?
Well, I think the key for him is to have some pace, that being one thing. And then the other is, and Christian now knows him very well. I think he's only got about maybe a quarter of a mile to 5/16 run in him. And I think maybe in the Rebel and in the Arkansas Derby, we maybe moved a little early. So that's in Christian's mind. So I'm sure he's going to be ready for it. And look, he's got to come with a better effort than he did in Arkansas Derby. I thought Renegade, was very impressive. I think he's the horse to beat. So, different track, different time. They're not machines. So it's who brings their A game on the first Saturday in May.
How big of a challenge will it be for Christian Torres to time that run exactly right when you have 19 other horses potentially in the race with him and traffic and all of those things to consider?
Christian's a great rider. He'll figure that out. And the good news, I think, is that he doesn't have any pressure on him. We go in as a long shot, and nobody's going to, have some spotlight on him. So whatever, if he gets beat, nobody will really even notice. If he wins, the world will. And so that's probably a good spot for Christian's first Kentucky Derby. I'm not concerned at all, about it being his first Derby. And, we have a long history with Christian. Christian learned to ride at our training center in Ocala. He's turned out, he's become one of the best riders in North America. So I have no worries about that. And again, the horse is a little quirky. So I think it's important that we have a rider that's rode him a few times.
Every year we talk about horses changing and developing and blossoming, if you will, Mark, when they get to Churchill Downs. Have you noticed any of those types of changes with Silent Tactic?
He looks magnificent. I couldn't be happier with the way he looks physically. A lot's been written and said about, him running 4 times at Oaklawn, but I think that's made him bigger and stronger. And, again, we're happy where we're at. And, now we just need some luck.
Well, we'll see if he'll get that luck coming up next Saturday beneath those TwinSpires. On Friday, you've got a good one, too, in the Kentucky Oaks with Counting Stars. Tell me a little bit more about her.
Yeah, we actually have 2. We have Counting Stars and Search Party.
Yeah.
Counting Stars will probably be one of the favorites. She's coming in, off an impressive victory in the fantasy. She's come to Churchill Downs. She's really thriving at this time. She loves what she's doing. If you looked at her, you wouldn't have any idea that, she's run a number of times, and she's won here at Churchill, which is always a nice thing. And so again, both of them, Search Party is a little bit like Silent Tactic in that she's going to need some pace. She's going to need others to do some work for her to be competitive. The good news is she gets to go farther than she's ever ran, which is a benefit. And she had, of the 3 horses, she probably had the most impressive breeze the other day. She really moved over Churchill Downs very well.
And Christian Torres will have the mount aboard Search Party, Francisco Arrieta aboard Counting Stars. Tell me a little bit more about Francisco and that choice.
Well, I mean, he's a great rider. He's never I don't know that he's ever rode an Oaks, but she is really quirky. So she takes somebody that knows her, and, he gets along with her great. He loves her. He has a lot of confidence in her, and we have a lot of confidence in Francisco. So I said to him right after the race, I said, maybe we win our first Oaks together. We've run second in the Oaks, but we've never won the Oaks either.
But that is so hard to believe, especially considering that this past week you just won, your 52nd Sovereign Award?
My wife called me the next morning. She said, congratulations. She goes, some people are saying it's 16, but I think it's 17. And I said, no, I think it's 17.
Unbelievable. Unreal. The dual Hall of Famer.
What's funny, going back some time, I've told this story to many people, but my son Colby, who's now 23, he was about 10, I guess, 10 or 11, and we were having dinner, and Tina and I were flying to Toronto the next day, and I said, Colby, Dad and Mom are going up, for the Sovereign Awards. He said, well, you got to remember now, he's 11 years old or something. He goes, do you think you have a chance to win? And I said, well, I think we have a pretty good chance. And he goes, yeah, Todd Pletcher doesn't run much in Canada.
Nice.
This is my 11-year-old digging it into me.
Damn kids. I love it. Mark, let's talk just for a second about the owners of the three horses we've been talking about here this morning. You have John Oxley, associated with Silent Tactic. You have Tracy Farmer, of course, with Search Party, and then Terry Finley and West Point Thoroughbreds with Counting Stars. How great is it to be associated with people like that?
Well, I mean, they're top of the list. They're great owners. I think I've probably started my relationship with Terry Finley was even before Oxley and Farmer. And then, of course, Mr. Oxley, we've trained for, 15 years or more. And the reason we got Tracy Farmer is because of John Oxley. He's
really
the one that recommended Tracy to me. I can remember having dinner with Tracy at the Hall of Fame, and he goes, you're going to that sale. If you see anything you like, let me know. And I think the first horse I bought for him was Devious Charm, and Devious Charm is the dam of Search Party.
Well, what a great tie-in.
Yeah.
What a great tie-in. What is it that makes owners of that caliber so successful in this business?
Well, they love it, for one thing. And I can tell you all three of them let me do my job. And they don't question me, and they believe in me, and they trust me. And that's a big thing. The other thing is, sometimes my friend Aaron Gigoda says Mark Casse trains for a career, not a race. And you need to have owners that understand that winning is not always, that it's a long term. I tell everybody, this is a game of 9 innings. If we don't score any runs in the first, doesn't mean we're not going to win the game. So, and all three of those are very understanding and get that, and don't put pressure on me to, go out and win every time, which then helps these horses develop. You can look at Silent Tactic. You can look at Search Party. Counting Stars has had a few little blips in the way. She's went and barely finished. And not one time did Terry Finley ever question anything I did. He said, we'll get them next time. And that is, whether you're talking John Oxley, Tracy Farmer, Terry Finley, Aaron Wellman, Gary Barber, we have a large stable for him, and he gets it as well. Charlotte Weber. And those are all people that I've trained for years. And, the other nice thing is they're my friends. They're just not, they're my friends, which is good.
No, it's great to be Mark Casse right now. Mark, really appreciate the visit as always. Best of luck in the Oaks and in the Derby. And just let your son know, Todd Pletcher might not train in Canada, but he does have the favorite in this year's Kentucky Derby. We'll see if you can turn the tables on him this year and get your first.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to be tough to beat. I think Renegade is the horse to beat. So
he looked like the real deal to you in Arkansas?
He did. I just thought the way he quickened late was really impressive. And I know we have a good horse in Silent Tactic, and he ran by us like we were standing still. So, all right.
Mark, go get him, buddy.
Thank you. Have a great day, Mike.
All right, you got it. Always willing to take time to join me here on the program. He's done it for years. The dual Hall of Famer, Mark Casse. Interesting to hear him throw that kind of praise on Renegade. And I guess that's the reason that Arad Ortiz Jr. decided, hey, I'm going with him. He had his choice. Further ado, Commandment. He said, nope, I'm going to stick with Renegade. He must have felt that same thing when he said go aboard the Arkansas Derby winner back on March 28th. Well, my thanks to Mark for being here. If you missed it at the top of the show, this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question is this. What common household item is responsible for breeding more Kentucky Derby winners than any other source of wealth in the race's history? Yeah, think about that one for a minute. That's a toughie from Lee Delapina here this morning. The answer comes your way right around 10:55 Eastern Time. Get your mojo working. Up next, the Pontiff of the Pick Four, Jude Feld, will join me. We're going to tell you what's coming up on HRN live from Churchill next week, and he'll tell you about some of the storylines that he has his eye on in this year's Oaks and Kentucky Derby. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, horse racing's voice.
This is HRRN, where racing comes to talk.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And they're off.
It's a new era for the Maryland Jockey Club at Laurel Park. The new Pimlico Racecourse will honor more than 151 years of racing history while embracing a bold, modern future. And now more than ever, it pays to be Maryland bred. With more than $17 million in added incentives offered annually, Maryland is one of the most attractive and sustainable jurisdictions for racing locally bred horses. Be part of the new era. Visit Pimlico.com.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
He got a quarter mile to go in the Sunland Derby. Express Kid under siege, but he is fighting back. It's Express Kid, took the turn well. He's put away Pavlovian for the moment. There's Bricklin stalled in third. Pavlovian coming. Pavlovian trying to get on even terms with Express Kid in the final 50 yards. Express Kid all hard. Express Kid might have delivered. That was close. Almost as close as last year's running of the Southern Derby. Pavlovian made him work for it. A distant third. Bricklin, Yannico was a non-threatening fourth.
It was so close, Pavlovian got that nostril, as Tom Durkin used to say, a flared nostril to the wire first to win the Sunland Derby back on February 15th for trainer Doug O'Neill. He returned to finish second, beaten just ahead to Emerging Market in the Louisiana Derby on March 21st. Pavlovian, an interesting prospect in this year's Kentucky Derby, and he's going to be a big price. And, you know, for Doug O'Neill, he'd be flipping burgers if it wasn't for my friend Jude Feld. And Jude Feld is with me now here on HRRN. JT, Pontiff of the Pick Four, good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Quite an introduction.
Well, hey, Doug says that in almost every interview we do with him now.
Yeah, I know. It's got to be kind of standard for him, but I don't know if that's true or not. But we had a lot of fun when he first went to work for me, and he was a great employee of Jude Feld Racing Stable, and he's just, you know, exceeded all expectations as far as training is concerned. I mean, I can't believe they didn't elect him to the Hall of Fame. He's already won 2 derbies, and he probably has more on the way. Just a great guy to be around, and really good fella. So can't say enough nice things about Doug.
Does he have any chance to pull it off with Pavlovian?
Oh, sure. That horse is a nice horse. I mean, he's you know, maybe a cut below, but I don't think this field is overly tough this year. I think it's a pretty standard field. There's really no standouts. The best horse was Ted Toffey, and you know, he's not running. So after that, the rest of them, you could put them in the shaker and see what comes out. You know.
Well, you're going to spend a lot of time talking about the Derby picture, even talking about the Oaks picture on our Derby Countdown shows, which begin on Tuesday morning live from Churchill Downs. You'll sit alongside Bobby Neuman, as you've done for the past few years now, and you'll get a chance to interview some of the biggest names associated with both the Oaks and the Derby.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun as per usual. We always have a great time, and we start the show by watching the horses on the track as they train and record our thoughts as they go by, and that's always a lot of fun for me. I go back to my days with HRRN working with Sean Clancy, and Sean and I used to do that together, and now Bobby and I do it, and it's a lot of fun. I love looking at the horses, watching them train, seeing what their demeanor's like, you know, who's acting sharp, who's maybe acting a little dull. It's always an interesting exercise every morning, around 7:30.
Do you ever change your opinion on a horse based on what you see when you're watching those gallops with Bobby?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
yeah?
I changed my opinion on a horse this morning, just watching the workout show. I was up early watching the works from Churchill on YouTube, and it was kind of interesting to see these horses out there and working in company or working alone. And I mean, it can change, from day to day. I remember one time there was a horse that Sean Clancy and I had liked, and then we saw him jog like the day before the Derby, and we didn't like the way he jogged, and we threw him out. So it saved us a bunch of money. He didn't run well. So we're not 100%, but we do a pretty good job, I think, all in all. We've been around a while, so we kind of know what's going on.
Which horse did you change your opinion on after watching this morning?
I don't really want to say.
Holding it back?
Well, it's not going to be a secret, but I was firmly thinking this horse might be, one of the top contenders, and I just didn't like the way he breathed. He breathes with his head up all the way. He just didn't look all that comfortable to me, and it might have been a one-off. I don't know. I'll have to do some more research, but he's such a prominent horse that I don't really want to besmirch him this early.
Wow. What if I guess it?
Well, I mean, you can guess it if you want. I mean, I just don't think it's in anybody's best interest to say, But anybody that buys a Pope Jude sheet for Derby Day will know if he's not on the list.
Wow.
They'll be able to figure it out.
When does that sheet come out? Is it Oaks and Derby Day?
Yeah, we have one for Oaks and one for Derby Day. They should be out, I'm hoping by Thursday. It's nice they're taking entries today, and hopefully they get their act together and get the PPs out so I can start my work. But it's a long process, and it's a lot of races, so I take it pretty seriously, and we'll see how we do. We usually have a good couple of days. Usually one day's better than the other, but you never know which one that's going to be. But the weather's supposed to be halfway decent on Saturday, and maybe a little rainy on Friday. But the races are, kind of later in the day. So we'll see how it goes.
Tell me about some of the guests that you and Bobby have scheduled for next week's shows.
Well, we got, for the Oaks, we got Aaron Wellman coming on, of course, talk about his sensational filly Meaning. Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners is a organization that Aaron started many moons ago, and they've been doing really good. As a matter of fact, yesterday they won the Gold Tray at Keeneland, and as you know, that's a really big deal to win the Gold Tray at Keeneland. I think you have to win 8 graded races or something like that. I don't really know what the rules are exactly, but it's quite a milestone, and it's a very coveted program. There's the tray, and then there's a pitcher, and then there's a bowl. Nice to get a solid gold anything. So,
yeah,
it was very, very exciting to see Aaron's filly win the Bewitch, and then afterwards he got the got the tray, and that was great for me because he started working for me when he was like 8 years old. So, it was great to see the full circle moment of when I used to sneak him into the backside in my Cadillac with racing forms on top of him because he didn't have a license and he wasn't eligible to come in the backside. But he worked for me every summer from the time he was 8 until he went to college, and he's been a good friend my whole training career, really.
I was thinking about Aaron and Eclipse Thoroughbreds earlier this morning when I was getting ready for the show, because they also owned Breeders' Cup Sprint winner Aloha West, if you remember, right, who had that
right.
tremendous run at Keeneland. And, of course, we work closely with our friends at Miller Ridge with Headley and Price. And, they were telling me that, JT, they're so encouraged because 8 out of the 10 Aloha West babies averaged $80,000 between OBS March and the April sale. And the compliments they're getting on his offspring, the quality, the willingness, all of those things are just off the charts.
Yeah, well, he was a really nice horse, and Wayne Catalano did a great job with him. He put him in the right spots, and Wayne's an excellent trainer. He's one of the few guys that, won I think over 3,000 races. Maybe I'm shorting him as a jockey, and he's approaching that, I think, as a trainer too. Just a multifaceted guy. Plus, he's a hell of a chef. Just a really cool guy to be around. So it's nice to see good people have success, and that was a horse that really he kind of over-exceeded expectations, I would say.
Yeah, Aloha West. He's a horse that really you shouldn't lose sight of with a crop that has so many promising freshman sires. He's one to take a look at over at Millridge. But back to this year's Kentucky Derby picture. What other Derby connections do you and Bobby have scheduled?
Well, Brad Cox is coming on, and there's probably no more important trainer to this year's Derby than Brad Cox. He's got 3 contenders, and that's pretty exciting. He's got Commandment and Further Ado and full effort. So that's he's a guy that he's a great friend of HRRN, and he always comes on regardless of how busy he is or what his schedule's like, and he always makes time for us, which we appreciate, and he's very forthcoming, and it's always an interesting interview. So we're looking forward to that one for sure, because he holds the key to the race, really.
Yeah, he's got some live ones for sure. There's no doubt about it. Tuesday through Thursday of Derby Week, live from Churchill Downs. Jude and Bobby, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. And a reminder, different Sirius XM channels than you're listening to right now. Sirius 161, XM 206. And, of course, it all streams on our website, horseracingradio.net, and then we podcast it there and on every podcast platform afterwards. But 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern, Sirius 161, XM 206, live from Churchill, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings. Jude, what other horses in this year's Kentucky Derby are you going to be kind of keeping an eye on over the next week or so that you'd like to have on your ticket if all goes well?
Well, I'm a big Golden Tempo fan, and I think he's got a really good chance of winning the Derby. He's a horse that we know can get the mile and a quarter. He's been developed very nicely by Cherie DeVoe. He keeps getting better every race, and he's not a horse with a lot of speed, but to me there's a lot of speed in this Derby, and I think it's going to set up nicely for a horse that can come from off the pace. He's a really talented horse. He's a good-looking horse. He's by Curlin, which automatically makes him a contender. And, I think he's got a big shot. Emerging Market is another horse that I like. Our friend Jessica Bedard, she kind of turned me on to this horse. She really likes him, and she has a great eye for horses. But I've watched his 2 races and his breezes recently, and I saw an interview with Chad Brown, his trainer, this morning, and I was really impressed with what Chad said about him. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes on the track when we get out there in the mornings and you got Flavian Pratt, so that's not a bad thing. Then another horse, speaking of jocks, you got Mike Smith on So Happy. And So Happy, he's kind of been late to the party for me. I wasn't really on the train, but he looks good. He's a nice horse, and Mark Glatt likes him a lot. Mark's a good guy, and he has a really good way with horses. I was friends with his dad. His dad used to come down from Seattle every year and bring a few horses to Santa Anita after Emerald Downs closed for the winter, and so his dad and I were friends, and it's great to see Mark doing so well, and especially in light of the fact that he lost his wife recently. She passed away suddenly, so I'm really hoping for him that he has a really nice day on Saturday.
Which of the 3 foreign horses, Jude, would you look at and say, okay, this horse will have the biggest impact? Would it be Danon Bourbon or Wonder Dean, the UAE Derby winner, or Six Speed, who was second behind him in that race?
Yeah, Danon Bourbon is my foreign horse to click. I mean, I've been so impressed with his races. He just seems to run away from the field. You know, a lot of times you have to ask horses or whatever. He just goes out there and runs, and then he draws away at the end. I just love the way he looks. I also like his name. It reminds me of yogurt flavored with bourbon.
Yeah.
I can't help but get that out of my head. I think it's kind of cool. But it'd be very popular in Kentucky, bourbon flavored yogurt.
Be popular anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much, but especially in the bluegrass. So, yeah, I really like that horse. I think he has a bang-up chance. I wouldn't be shocked if he won. You know, it's a pretty wide-open race, so he looked great, too. I thought this morning, just coming onto the track, he has a certain presence about him. He just seems to be all class. And, you know, he had a time in quarantine in Chicago, and he shipped in, and this morning he was out there. He looked good. He looked like he held his weight pretty good, and a very handsome horse. So I'm kind of high on him as far as the foreigners are concerned.
It is possible, and maybe even likely, that we have a horse trained by a 6-time Kentucky Derby winning trainer, a Hall of Famer, who ends up going off at odds of 20-1 or higher in the Derby. And I'm talking about Potente for Bob Baffert. Would that be a gift, or does he deserve to be a long shot?
I can't believe he's being ignored. I mean, he gives me the Justified vibes. I mean, this horse, you know, he's lightly raced, but he just goes out there and runs his ass off every time he runs. I really like that horse. I think he's super cool. I think, you know, Bob knows how to win the Derby. I mean, that's like half the battle. I mean, Chad was talking about that this morning, you know, how you get experience even when you don't win. If you run in the Derby and you learn how things go, it really is a big edge. And I mean, certainly nobody has a bigger edge winning the Kentucky Derby than Bob Baffert. So, I mean, I just really like that horse. I've liked him all along. He's like the only horse that I originally put on my list that's still on my list, because I go back and forth, and, you know, as things develop and you see horses and horses come out of the woodwork sometimes, but I've had Potente on there since early on. He broke his maiden sprinting. He really didn't want to sprint, but he gamed it out, and then his next start he went long and he won. And, you know, I know he got beat in the Santa Anita Derby, but I mean, you know, it was a first time going a mile and an eighth, and you know, he's still learning. I mean, he's learning the ropes, and he's only had 3 starts, so I really think he's got a big chance.
Well, I'll recap one more time before I let you go, JT. Our Kentucky Derby countdown shows presented by our friends at Hillendale and Alapa again this year. Our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from Churchill Downs, live from the backside, 8 to 10 a.m. every single morning, and that's Eastern time. If you miss it live, either on SiriusXM or on our website, you can check out the podcast that'll be out there at horseracingradio.net and your favorite podcast platform. That'll be out there every day after 10 a.m. Eastern. But the SiriusXM channels, again, just write this down, Sirius 161, XM 206. Those are different channels than you're listening to us right now. And you can go to horseracingradio.net for more information and a complete Derby week schedule. JT, enjoy every minute of it, my friend, and we will talk again soon. Good luck at the Derby.
All right, thanks. You too. Let's make some money.
Let's cash some tickets. The Pontiff of the Pick Four, Jude Feld, here on HRRN. When I come back, I'll take a look at a historical date in racing history or two and tell you what's coming up in hour number 3. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Ms. Fernandez, what are those tiny things?
Those are what we call amoebas. You can only see them through a microscope.
Wow.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators. But right now, there's a funding crisis in public schools. Millions of kids go to schools that don't have funding for books, computers, and so much more just because of where they live. You can help change that. Donor Shoes is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You choose which supplies to support. You could provide first graders with pencils and paper, or other students with their first chapter books, help a music class get a guitar.
You could even supply a classroom like mine with a science project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow.
To learn more, please visit DonorsChoose.org. That's DonorsChoose.org. Choose students. Shape the future.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becker. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Well, so far, in our poll question this morning about which foreign horse will have the biggest impact, Wonder Dean, the UAE Derby winner, continues to lead the way. You can keep voting at HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. That's what Sean in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania has done, and he says 6-speed, if he breaks, will help set the pace the first mile, and would like to think he can hang around, but reality probably falls away in the last 16th or so, and we'll find out if 6-speed can carry that speed coming up next Saturday. Also, I started the program asking you if there was a fantasy contest associated with jockeys in the Derby, and you could draft your team of 4 jockeys. Likely the top 3 are going to be Irad Ortiz, Luis Saez, and Johnny V, because Irad and Luis are aboard favorites, and Johnny V is aboard Further Ado, who is also going to be among the favorites, and he's won it 3 times. Well, Sally Ellen, our good friend at Country Life Farm in Maryland, says research from Jason Beam shows that Johnny V can only win the Derby on a horse whose name starts with A. Think about that one for a minute. His 3 Kentucky Derby winners, their names all beginning with A. If you start with Always Dreaming and then Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom was first. Animal Kingdom, then Always Dreaming, and then Authentic. Yeah. I think the Hall of Famer can win with a horse whose name starts with F, too, with a horse like Further Ado. Well, I told you some historical dates in racing history were coming your way. You hear that music, which means we don't have a lot of time, but I'll give you this one. Tomorrow, April 26, 1916. That's the day that the first Triple Crown winner, Sir Barton, was foaled at Hamburg Place in Lexington. Yeah, happy birthday to Sir Barton tomorrow. All right, 2 hours in the books, 1 to go. It begins with the TwinSpires Triple Play and Kevin Kilroy kicking things off for you. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History presented by Keeneland. Dale and Tim with I Ask the Answer coming up 10:30 Eastern Time. Back with Hour 3 right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Here comes Ermine. Ermine is found in Seaman. Lemon forever. Ermine on the inside. Lemon forever. Lemon forever. And Mark getting to the front. Lemon forever. Winning Kentucky Oaks 132. But they're coming to the finish, and it is all Barbaro. It is a blind performance. He runs away from them all, and he has saved something left for the Preakness. Barbaro wins by 7.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Catherine Sophia has run away here. Catherine Sophia's got a 4-length lead as they come by the 16th pole. And Catherine Sophia will be very impressive. The winner of the Kentucky Oaks. And they come to the final furlong. Exaggerator is closing in. Nyquist to catch with a 16th to go. Gunrunner, Exaggerator on the outside. Nyquist and Exaggerator, they're coming to the line together. And Nyquist is still unbeaten. He has won the Kentucky Derby.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Man, do I love that opening montage, huh? Yeah, you heard it at the top of the show, 8 a.m. Eastern. You hear it again to kick off Hour 3. Welcome back. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. 1 week away from the Run for the Roses and 6 days away from the Run for the Lilies. Let's not forget about the ladies in the Kentucky Oaks. We've been talking about both the Oaks and the Derby throughout the first 2 hours of the program. If you missed any of the guests that I have brought your way, any of the updates we brought your way with Kevin Kerstein live from Churchill Downs, all you have to do is head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. The podcast of this show will be up after I finish at 11 a.m. Eastern. And you can listen on every podcast platform. So wherever you get your podcast, type in Horse Racing Radio Network and follow along with us. Going to kick off Hour 3 as we do every week with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Kevin Kilroy will join me, coming at you in 4K today, as we like to say when we have Kevin Kerstein and Kevin Kilroy on the same show. You'll hear from him with 3 races to watch and wager on at TwinSpires. And then Kurt Becker, Stroll Through Racing History at 10:20. Focused this week on Kentucky Derby foods. There should be a fun Stroll Through Racing History with Kurt. And then at 10:30, I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans with Tim Wilkin. Our Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question for you this morning, if you missed it. What common household item is responsible for breeding more Kentucky Derby winners than any other source of wealth in the race's history? Yeah, think about that one. You talk about impossible. That one's tough from Lee Delapina for you here this morning. Get your mojo working. I'll have the answer coming up shortly, 10:55 Eastern. As I mentioned, Kevin Kilroy is here with this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Kev, what's going on, brother?
Everything's going on, Mike. Everything. No better time to be in horse racing. We got the meat firing up, and of course the Derby and the Oaks. So just been going after the morning work show, which is always a blast, and diving into these first cards. So yeah, I'm happy as a clam, as I say.
Those work shows are so great because you get to see the horses that start to, I'll use the word blossom, when they get to Churchill Downs. And it really is a thing. We see it every year.
Yeah, it is. You just want to keep your eye on them, see how they're touting themselves, how they're handling things, and it's always about finding the horse who's about to run their Derby race as opposed to the one who already ran it. Sometimes it takes everything to get here, and you want to be coming into your best, facing 19 foes, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's a great point. Churchill kicking off Derby week with opening day this afternoon. First post, 12:45 Eastern. There are 10 races slated for the opening day program. You're going to focus on races 4, 5, and 9 on this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. So let's begin with that fourth race of the afternoon. 3:05 Eastern is the post. 6 furlongs, a 12-5 claiming race on the main track. So tell me more about this one.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's our first year in quite some time that we've started the meet off during the day. So 12:45 first post, as you mentioned, and not that night racing car as we've seen in the past. And we've got races on Sunday, so we haven't done that since I've been here, at least. So we've got a fun opening weekend. And, race 4, it's an interesting one. We've got this claiming 12-5, open claiming 12-5, which I love these open claimers. Sometimes it just makes things simple. Going 6, no true speed in here. So I'm thinking about trip as well as I'm thinking about form in terms of trying to make a pick through here. I think Illini's probably going to try to get to the front. We'll also see that immediate outside foe, Bet on Brett, likely show some speed. I see Upturn Brim, the number 4 with Keith DeSormo, who's coming back quick, but he's shown good form on the quick wheel back before. Just sitting right behind if he can slot below, or just right off to the outside. Axel Concepcion taking the call. Saw this guy down in Fairgrounds with Randy Degatel. If you ever want to try to pronounce that Cajun last name, that's Degatel. It's a little L in there too. I had some guys really work with me on that one. So, but he was running fantastic, and he just keeps on coming. And he was facing some very tough runners. Guanair, who's in great form for Diodoro. Guile, who just, I think, won 3 or 4 races on the meet for Alexis Clare. He beat American City by a nose, showing his gameness there December 19th. And, Keith claimed him off the turf, and he tried him again on the turf. It was a little bit of a southward move there, February 26th, facing Fit to Fly, who was another very formful foe. So, this is one of these horses that if you weren't following Fairgrounds closely, you might not realize how good these company lines are. And I'm here to tell you that they were good ones. He was facing some of the more formful horses there. Last out, Willie Bird. It was a Ravelli, I think it was 2-5 Ravelli, who was getting a 7th win, 3rd in a row, something like that. There was no taking him on. I think Keith is feeling that Upturn Brim is doing good. He's done good on the quick wheel back before. He gets some class relief, and I think he can sit the trip. So 4-1, hopefully we can get right around there. I think there's some other interesting prospects in here, but Upturn Brim for me.
All right, there you have it. That is race number 4 at Churchill Downs on this opening day program. Kevin Kilroy going to take number 4, Upturn Brim, at odds of 4-1. So 4 is wild in that fourth race of the afternoon. How about race number 5? Right? Are you going with number 5 in the 5th race?
It's how I do it. I just do the 5 and the 5th, and just come up with a reason. No, I'm going to go with Wistucky, the rail horse here for Bobby DeBona. This Nyquist horse that he claimed just 2 back there, February 15th, he ran a huge race on the 28th, going 6.5 furlongs, which is the distance for this starter allowance. He broke a little slow, got hustled up, pressed on the inside, on the rail throughout, and just was powerfully coming through the wire. I've watched a work since then on the 17th, scrubbed just a little bit, kept close to the rail, and just very strong in the gallop out. After a new top effort, I do keep in mind, all right, are we holding form? How are we doing? And that work that I saw from Wistucky just showed me that he's in the right hands. Bobby DeBona's got him going very well. So we don't see many DeBona horses coming up here. I think just Steal My Sunshine is the only one that he's brought to Churchill over the last 5 years at least, looking through Formulator. And he's got the rail. I think he can let a little speed develop to his outside, and Louis can just sit the trip, let the pocket form around him, and he's got the horse who's finishing very strong down the stretch. And that's, when you're talking about having Louis Saez up on a horse, that's the sort of trip that you want to see. So I think he'll be a short price in here. I'm going to keep that in mind and really going to try to keep that double with race 4 and 5, one of the reasons I wanted to bring these two together. And just a cold double for me, Mike, 4-1 cold, and try to get this meet started right.
No exactas, no trifectas, nothing like that. Just the double from races 4 to 5.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, I think Michael's Cove is interesting at a big price, the Troy Newton runner. Newton, when he gets him right, he keeps him right. And I think it's 33% over the last 12, even better if you look a little bit deeper in terms of winning the next start. I think he's overmatched in this race, but he looked fantastic. At Turfway Park, 20-1 morning line's intriguing. So Michael's Cove could entice me into playing vertically with Stucky Keat on top. We should see Tiger's Legacy run better too. I'm not sure if he was fully cranked for that last one. Had a little trouble for the Chris Davis training. So, but he could be totally out of form. Who knows? It's a little bit of a question mark with the 6. So Michael's Cove would be the one that might entice me into playing that vertical with Stucky on top.
All right, with Stucky 7 to 5 on the morning line for Bobby DeBona, breaking from post position number 1 in race number 5. Race number 9 is the third and final leg of this TwinSpires triple play. You've chosen to focus on this one. It's the Roxelana Stakes. 6 furlongs on the main track. Post time 5:46 Eastern. Who wins it?
Odd. See, we got these bets this meet. We're starting odd versus even. Keep your eye out on that, odd versus even. But I'm going with the number 7 here. Lots and lots of candy. But I want to make a little plug for the coin toss bets that are going to be coming your way here at Churchill. Or no, it's not number 7, Vincey Girl. I'm going even. What am I doing? My head scrambled. My head scrambled. No, we're going even. Lots and lots of candy. Sorry to lead you all astray there. Paul McGee's mare, Twirling Candy mare. Lots and lots of candy. 2 wins here at Churchill Downs. She's been handled with, with a lot of caution. She's had some races where you're like, all right, what's going on with her? In terms of her effort at Keeneland on debut, I think she just didn't like the going. And then we saw her, I don't know, she bore out through a lot of the race there on the 24th, and still she came with a run. She's got a little bit of the profile of does she need things to go her own way, but I don't think she does. I mean, that race on the 24th, as well as seeing her on the turf on the February 17th, I think she's happy in these sprint distances to be behind horses and keep on coming, but she might just try to wire this field. She's got the figures, 2 back on the dirt. She ran a 2 on Thoroughgraph. I think that can win this. She's been working like a monster. I mean, some of those times you see in the morning, we've had a fast track for much of the early works that we've seen so far. So when you're seeing 45 and 4 on April 4th, keep that in mind. But she seems like she's raring to go. They tried the turf. They wanted to try the turf. That was the intention, and she ran into just a monster performance by Shining Star. That Cox filly ran a 103 buyer, wired the field, and lots of candy. I could tell she just didn't really love the footing, just watching her on there, and Brian really didn't set down a run with her, kind of feeling that in the stretch. So she's back on the dirt. She's got a tough field in here, second choice in the morning line. I think she will take some action for sure, given all those works that she's had. The clockers will be betting her, but I do think she could drift up a little bit to 4-1, 9-2, and I'd love that price on her. She's a neat filly, or neat mare, I should say, and I'm excited to see her take on Stakes Company up here in Churchill.
All right, so it's going to be number 4, lots and lots of candy. That is an even number. So odds, evens. You get every even numbered horse in the race, or every odd numbers horse in the race. Is that right? Yes. I believe there has to be 3 of each for the wager to go, and you can get every odd or every even. So I believe it's 17% takeout, something like that. It'll be interesting to keep your eye on this bet and see if there are some opportunities, especially with new bets. Sometimes you can kind of exploit and find an edge just in terms of how it's being handled. So it'll be interesting to see if this picks up some traction, kind of like going to Vegas and playing War. It can be fun sometimes. Yeah. So a minimum of 3 of each, 3 odds, 3 evens. Yep. In order for the wager. I'm just picturing a scenario where, from a betting perspective, if you have a turf race with a full field and horses come out for whatever reason, and you're left with 3 odd number horses, and then maybe you have 6 even number horses still left in the race, the bet still goes, and you can still take those 6 evens against the 3 odds, right?
Yeah, and maybe that's the opportunity to take the odds if you really love one of those odds, right? Because it might just be scenarios like that. I mean, we're just going to have to watch it unfold where you might be able to see a little bit of window of opportunity. So it could be cool.
Yeah, it really, really intriguing, interesting. Thinking out of the box. I love that.
We do have Zeitlos in here, who's won this race before. Of course, Miggs Palace. She won it off the bench last year. I think it's a good group. I think that One Magic Filly, I think she wants to go longer. I think this will be a starting point. The blinkers are on, so that could be a little bit of a different effort from that. Brendan Walsh training on the rail. Jersey Pearl, she's game. She is very game. She's a monster. She is, and Luan's going to take that call. Could be interesting there. Zeitlos 6 is her best. We'll see if she's as good as she seemed to be for a little bit there. She's been a little bit disappointing recently.
All right, Kevin Kilroy, here are his TwinSpires triple play for this morning. He'll start with race 4 at Churchill. He'll go with number 4, Upturned Brim at 4-1. Race number 5, he'll take number 1, Wistucky at odds of 7-5, and he likes the idea of hooking Upturned Brim and Wistucky up in a double from races 4 to 5. And then race number 9, the Roxalena, he'll take number 4, Lots and Lots of Candy at odds of 7-2 on the morning line. And maybe, who knows, with the likes of Zeitlos and some of the others in here, maybe drifts up a little higher than 7-2. What do you think?
I could see it. I mean, a lot of times these live McGee runners, Marty's betting pretty hard. So you might see some money going in this
Crush it like
direction.
a McGee. That's what they like to say, right? Crush it like a McGee.
I haven't heard that, but I'm gonna use that. I love it.
Kevin, man, I appreciate it. Other than odds, evens, what else here? It's Derby week. What else is going on at TwinSpires? I'm sure plenty.
All week, starting with the opening day card, you can get your money back if you run second or third. So you gotta take advantage of that. Opt in, Saturday morning, and just have that confidence that your first win bet up to $10 or higher. If you bet more, you're a VIP, etc. You can get your money back for second or third, and that's great. We've got to have great fields, and in terms of taking a swing at the price, you can be a little bit more confident just betting that win, and then just knowing that if you don't quite get it done, you'll have that back in your account to fire again.
All right, there you have it. Kevin Kilroy, TwinSpires triple play. Kevin, enjoy today. Enjoy this entire week. It's going to fly by. Best of luck with the Run for the Roses and the Lilies next weekend.
Thank you, Mike. Looking forward to it all.
You got it, pal. We'll talk to you soon. Kevin Kilroy here on HRRN. Coming up next, Kurt Becker will take you on his weekly Stroll Through Racing History. I told you it's a story about Kentucky Derby foods. Really intriguing, and nobody weaves a story together like Kurt Becker. That segment presented by Keeneland. And then I Ask, They Answer with Dale Romans, with Tim Wilkin, coming your way, 10:30 Eastern. We'll talk about some of the hot topics in the sport today. But before I get to Kurt's story, it's time for this month's edition of the Kentucky Bred Update. And let me tell you, it pays to breed and race in Kentucky. The first Saturday in May is, well, it's almost here, 1 week away, and Kentucky Breds are poised to visit the winner's circle once again. How about this? Looking to add to their 117 Derby victories, Bluegrass-born runners make up 18 of the top 20 contenders this year. The leading Kentucky-bred contenders include Florida Derby winner Commandment, Bluegrass winner Further Ado, Arkansas Derby winner Renegade, and Santa Anita Derby hero So Happy. And it's a similar storyline for the Kentucky Oaks. You've got fillies like the Santa Anita Oaks winner, Meaning, Ashland Stakes winner Percy's Bar, Rachel Alexandra Stakes winner Bella Ballerina, and Fantasy Stakes winner Counting Stars leading the charge. And the winning doesn't stop at the track. In the auction ring, a Kentucky-bred son of Flightline just broke records, selling for $10.5 million at the OBS Spring Sale in April. And that's building on a streak of unprecedented success. For the second year in a row, a record $20 million in awards was paid to breeders participating in the KTBIF program last year for racing in 2025. All told, KTBIF has provided more than $250 million to breeders of Kentucky breds winning eligible races worldwide since the program was implemented in 2005. Purses in 2025 hit an all-time high of more than $234 million, And Kentucky remains one of the leading racing jurisdictions, averaging a near record high purse per race of more than $112,000 and an average field size of 8.9 in 2024. Make sure your horse is KTDF and KTBIF eligible to secure your share of lucrative awards worldwide. For more information on racing and breeding in Kentucky, visit KentuckyBreds.com or register KBIF.com. Breed them, raise them, race them. We all win with Kentucky Breds. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History is next. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race the TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Let Denali Stud sell your future Saturday afternoon horses. For 3 decades, Denali Stud has developed a reputation of consistently selling 7-figure yearlings at Fasig-Tipton Saratoga and Keeneland September. And every year since 1990, Denali has ranked among the nation's leading consignors, amassing over $800 million in sales. Entry deadline for Fasig-Tipton July, Fasig-Tipton Saratoga, and Keeneland September is Friday, May 1st. Denali Stud, selling Saturday afternoon horses.
Come out today for world-class racing here at Santa Anita Park. First post time today is going to be 1 p.m. Next week, of course, is the Kentucky Derby. If you can't make it out to Kentucky, then Santa Anita Park is the best place to watch and wager on all the great races that weekend, including the Run for the Roses. It will be the biggest Kentucky Derby party west of Kentucky. We're going to have a Kentucky Derby Day hat contest with terrific prizes, a Derby buffet in our front runner restaurant, the California Vintage Motorcycle Show, a Derby barbecue picnic on the apron, and a family fun zone. Plus, you can get your hands on our limited edition signature So Happy t-shirt celebrating our Santa Anita Derby winner. Our first post time for live racing Saturday, May 2nd is 1 p.m. And please note that on Friday, May 1st, we will have a very special first post time of 3:15 p.m. Welcome back to our Hollywood meet here at Santa Anita Park, filled with glitz and glamour and world-class racing.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. Are you hosting a Kentucky Derby party this year? The big race is coming up, so you don't have much time left to do your planning. And one of the biggest challenges can be the menu. What will you serve your guests? Today, we go back to an article that appeared in Blood Horse magazine in May of 1976 titled Food for Thought at Kentucky Derby Time. Let's find out what culinary delights were being recommended for Derby parties some 50 years ago. A man named William Kerrigan Wilson, who had been a fraternity brother of Keeneland's head auctioneer George Swinebroad, told Blood Horse he had spent 55 years traveling the country and collecting recipes. He would find something he liked and then tweak the recipe and give it a distinctly Kentucky flavor by naming the dish after a former Kentucky Derby winner. So let's get to it. Colonel E.R. Bradley and his Idle Hour stock farm won 4 editions of the Kentucky Derby, beginning with a win by Behave Yourself in 1921. And so the Derby Day meal begins with a Behave Yourself salad of tomato aspic and asparagus, a 1-2 combination which pays tribute to Colonel Bradley's entry running 1-2 in that 1921 Derby. The salad is to be served on a silver platter. Surround the aspic with crisp Bibb lettuce and fill the center with asparagus. Next, we remember the legendary Green Tree stable of Mrs. Payne Whitney and its 1931 Kentucky Derby winner, 20 Grand. It is called 20 Grand Turkey Hash, and much like 20 Grand's Derby run, it is a dish which begins slowly but culminates by dazzling guests in track record time. Diced turkey, sliced mushrooms, and cornbread dressing. It's sure to be a winner. And now we remember 1879 Kentucky Derby winner Lord Murphy, a horse from Tennessee. President Andrew Jackson was the most ardent racing man in Tennessee, and his favorite breakfast always included lacy-edged cornmeal batty cakes with sorghum molasses and butter. And that's how we came up with Lord Murphy lacy-edged cornmeal batty cakes. Cook on a medium-hot greased iron griddle, then place in a pan in a warm oven at 250 degrees. Serve with molasses or maple syrup. How about Calumet Farms Pensive, winner of the Kentucky Derby in 1944? In his honor, we have Pensive Beaten Biscuits, so named because beaten biscuits are so good, they provoke considerable thought. Bake in a 350-degree preheated oven, and the biscuits should be golden brown in 20 minutes. And if you really want to impress your guests, serve those biscuits with thinly sliced Kentucky country ham. Anyone from the South can tell you grits are brain food. Fred Hooper, who owned 1945 Kentucky Derby winner Hoop Jr., was from Alabama, where grits traditionally have been popular. That's why Hoop Jr. Grits Supreme have made our Derby Day menu. Place grits into mixing bowl with additional ingredients, mix thoroughly, and pour into a baking dish. Bake at 375 degrees for 1 hour or until the top is brown and crusty. Serves 6. In 1969, the record-priced yearling Majestic Prince won the Kentucky Derby with a sitting president in attendance. As a result, Majestic Prince mushroom frills are being served. Place 1 shrimp around each mushroom stem and secure with a toothpick. Add sharp cheese on top of the mushroom, place on a cookie sheet, put under a broiler until the cheese melts and browns, and serve it while it's hot. 3 furlongs to go, and up next, it's Citation Country Ham, in honor of Calumet Farms' 1948 Derby and Triple Crown winner Citation. The idea here is that Kentucky Country Ham is the best ham on the planet, and Citation was the greatest Kentucky bred ever to win the Kentucky Derby. Pat on light brown sugar and place in oven until the sugar caramelizes. Remove from heat, let it cool, slice paper thin, and serve. For dessert, it's Secretariat Strawberries Curl's Neck with sauce. Mr. Wilson believes strawberries were at their best when grown on the rich red soil of Virginia, where 1973 Kentucky Derby and Triple Crown hero Secretariat was foaled. And Secretariat was born just a few miles from the historic Curl's Neck Farm. Serve with whipped cream, sprinkle it with nutmeg, and you will have equaled Secretariat's track record performance. Finally, let's have some Foolish Pleasure cheese wafers and mint juleps. Named for 1975 Kentucky Derby winner Foolish Pleasure, it might seem odd to name something as Kentucky as a mint julep after a Florida-bred horse. But enjoyment of this libation cannot be restricted along state lines. And there you have it, as you prepare to entertain guests at your Kentucky Derby party. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Thanks, Kurt, for that story. If you missed it, go to our website to check out the podcast of every Stroll Through Racing History. And don't forget while you're there to check out our Trainer Talk presented by Fasig-Tipton and sign up for our email newsletters to stay up to date on the latest news and guests set to appear on our shows. Dale and Tim coming up next with I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And they're off.
It's a new era for the Maryland Jockey Club at Laurel Park. The new Pimlico Racecourse will honor more than 151 years of racing history while embracing a bold, modern future. And now more than ever, it pays to be Maryland bred. With more than $17 million in added incentives offered annually, Maryland is one of the most attractive and sustainable jurisdictions for racing locally bred horses. Be part of the new era. Visit Pimlico.com.
When it's time to paint the fences and barns, think FarmPaint. At FarmPaint, you get the industry's best coatings and paints factory direct at low, low prices. FarmPaint is your source for quality paints, roof coatings, dustless arena footings, and more. You can purchase online or drop into a FarmPaint store near you with locations in heart of bluegrass country at 700 Phillips Lane in Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus, Ohio, and Sandusky, Ohio. Buy factory direct and save at farmpaint.com. That's farmpaint.com.
A Keeneland session topper from the first crop of the all-conquering Vekoma. Jonathan's Way was touted by purchaser John Moynihan as, quote, one of the best-looking horses you'll ever lay your eyes on. Out of an undefeated stakes-winning juvenile daughter of Indian Charlie, Jonathan's Way is a complete outcross through his first 5 generations and comes from the immediate female family of the great Dynaformer. Brilliantly talented with the pedigree and physical makeup to be commercial dynamite. Jonathan's Way, a future stallion star, standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Less than a quarter of a mile to go, and the Puma has made the lead. The Puma sticks a neck in front of Nearly as they straighten away in the stretch drive. Chief Wallaby trying to angle off their flank down the center Commandment. The 4 big shots with 1/8 of a mile more to decide it. The Puma has the lead. Running at him from the outside is Commandment. In between horses, Chief Wallaby. A thrilling finish to the Florida Derby. Here comes Commandment. The Puma tries to turn him back. It's a win photo. It's 1.5 inches either way. It's the Puma on the inside. It's Commandment on the outside. They were locked in battle toward the finish with Chief Wallaby third in 1:49.4. A win picture to decide the winner of the 75th Florida Derby.
Great call by Pete Aiello, and jockey Luis Saez hopes to end his 0-for-12 Derby drought aboard the Florida Derby winner Commandment next Saturday. We're going to tell you which jockey looking for their first Derby win has the best chance to pull it off. Plus, which trainer, Mark Casse or Chad Brown, has the better chance to add a first Derby win to their resume? And is it really possible a horse trained by a 6-time Kentucky Derby winner could go off at odds of 20-1 or higher? We'll talk about those topics and much, much more straight ahead on this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf rider Tim Wilkin. And it's all presented by our friends at the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. And it all starts just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
You know, I want to start just by giving a quick plug, since it is the start of Derby Week, to our sponsor of this segment, the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business. Over the years, so many of you have been kind enough to come up to me when I'm traveling to different racetracks or to send a note and tell us how much you've appreciated that program, and we certainly do as well. We appreciate their support, and we appreciate all of you checking it out. It's a wonderful program, and make sure you continue to do so. And if you're interested in getting involved in this business, it's a great way to do it. Guys, let's kick it off with Sean in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, who emails the show with 3 questions for you guys this week. And I was only going to use one, but he ended his email by saying, "Go Steelers." So because of that, he gets all 3 questions on the show. Timmy, which jockey who's never won the Kentucky Derby has the best chance to capture their first next Saturday?
That's a pretty loaded question. You look at the riders assembled for this edition of the Derby, and there's only 5 jockeys that have won it that are in this field. There's 14 of them that are searching for their first win, and there's one still to be named, I think, on Chip Honcho. I don't think Steve's named one yet, maybe this weekend after the work. The name that jumps out, you think most likely would be Irad, because he's riding Renegade, who's the favorite, and that was his choice. And he's had 9 tries in Derby. The best finish he ever had was a 4th with Improbable when he was the favorite. But, I think that that would be the safe pick. But remember, favorites haven't won this race in, I think, the last 7 years. A favorite hasn't won. I'm going to go with Louis Saez on Commandment, even though this is the first time he's ridden this horse. I mean, this is the horse that I've been touting for weeks now. I just think he just is battle tested. He knows how to win the fights. But I would go with Saez, but the smart money would be on Irad. His brother Jose is 0 for 10. He's on Golden Tempo. There's just, I think there's been 4 or 5 riders that have won in their first try. It doesn't happen often. I mean, Stuart Elliott of Smarty Jones comes to mind. Sonny Leone, when he won with the Impossible Rich Strike, did it a couple of years ago. But I'm going to go with Louis Saez. I'll let Dale have the favorite.
I'll take the smart money, take Irad, simply because Irad had his choice of who he was going to ride out of the 3 big boys, and he must feel something he really likes in Renegade. The other 2 have good chances. I mean, that had to be a hard decision to make on who to ride, but I'm going to go with Irad. If he likes him, I like him.
Tim, I'm glad you brought up Stuart Elliott. How cool of a storyline would it be if his son, Chris Elliott, could somehow follow suit and find a way to win it with Right to Party?
Wouldn't that be something? That would be a great story. And, being the journalist that I am, we always look for the best story. I mean, I don't know if that's the best story, but it would be a good story. And today's trivia question for both you guys is, who are the 2 jockeys in this Derby that have won it more than once? This is easy.
Mike Smith?
Yeah.
Johnny?
There you go.
Yeah, Johnny.
You guys have won the prize. You guys can pick out the stuffed animal.
Yeah. That was an easy one.
Yeah, you got to come up with something better than that.
I got to give you guys one. I got to give you a softball once in a while. You won't keep playing. You won't play no more.
Yep.
Well, I said that Sean gets 3 questions. All 3 make the show. How about this one? I like this one too. Which race other than the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby do you guys most look forward to each year? Dale, you're a Churchill Louisville guy. Which race other than those 2 do you always look forward to?
I like the turf race. Used to be the Woodford. I guess it's still the Woodford. Used to be the early times in the Woodford. I think that on Derby Day, that's always a good race on the turf right before the Derby. I think that's I won it one year with Little Mike, but it's a fun race to watch. I mean, it's easy to say Breeders' Cup Classic, and then the Travers is a good one. I always liked the Travers, of course, and
he's talking about just races.
I think other than on Oaks and Derby Day, right? Which race?
Okay, we'll stick with the Woodford. I mean, the Woodford's a classic race.
Well, you can't go wrong on Derby Day. There's 9 stakes, 5 of them Grade 1s. Everywhere, every time you turn around, there's going to be really good horses to watch. The race that I've really kind of gotten used to getting pumped up is the Churchill Downs, the Grade 1 Churchill Downs. Remember last year they had the 4-horse photo with Mindframe Banishing, Nisos, and Bookham Dano. The 7 furlongs. It's a pretty good test early in the year. Well, almost. Sort of early in the year. And we might be seeing Knightsbridge in this one. This race is won by Cody's Wish. It was won by Jackie's Warrior. It's a race that... Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I left that for you to say that, Dale.
Right. That's another good one.
But I just think that race seldom disappoints.
How about the Pat Day Mile?
The last race, the maiden race, last day, the last race every year. That's always an interesting race to watch. The 3-year-old maidens. Usually somebody wins that comes out of it as good later in life.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That might be getting into the weeds a little too much, but that's for a true horseman. A good maiden race is as good as watching a good stake.
Dale,
what about the Pat Day Mile?
That's a nice race, of course. It's always fun to watch.
But, that used to be the Derby Trial, right?
Yeah, so that's not as historic. When it was the Derby Trial opening day at Churchill Downs, I always liked it better, but it's become a big-time race.
I mean, back in the day, wasn't it there were horses that would run the Derby trial and then come back the next week and run in the Derby? Didn't that happen?
In the old days, they used to use it as a prep all the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the Pat Day Mile is, that's a springboard for some horses to see. They might do some good later on in the year.
Yeah, I think it even used to be run on the Tuesday of Derby weekend. They used to run a lot of preps Tuesday and then Saturday. And Alan Jerkins told me when he was young, he said there was an old saying, 4th on Tuesday, 1st on Saturday. You give your horse an easy race in the prep on Tuesday, run him back on Saturday and win.
That's unbelievable, the way it used to be, huh?
The way it's changed, yep.
4th on Tuesday, 1st on Saturday. I love that.
Yeah, I always liked that line. Alan told me that years ago.
Great stuff.
The Chief had some great lines.
Yeah, he did.
The Chief was the best.
He did. Hey, Sean has one more question for you guys. He wants to know, of the 3 foreign horses expected to compete in next Saturday's Derby, which one will have the most significant impact? Is it Dannon Bourbon? Is it Wonder Dean, who took the UAE Derby? Or is it 6 Speed, who found himself second in that very same race behind Wonder Dean? Tim, what do you think?
Do I really have to pick one of these? I don't think,
not to win, just the most significant impact.
I don't think any of them are going to have a significant impact, and I'll tell you why. The 2 from the UAE Derby, until a horse from the UAE Derby wins the Kentucky Derby, I'm not going to use any of them. They're 0 for 21. The best finish being a 3rd by Forever Young just a couple years ago, even though, he ran lights out. He ran great. He might have been the best horse in the race that year. And no offense to Mystic Man, but Forever Young was a monster in that race. Wonder Dean, this will be he's got in the 7th race, he's got 7 different jockey, even though he's got Forever Young's rider. I hope I don't butcher his name. I think it's Ryosoi Saki. And 6 Speed was second in the UAE Derby, so I throw him out because he was in the UAE Derby. That leaves me with the Bourbon horse, who was undefeated in 3 starts. Dannon Bourbon, who was undefeated in 3 starts by a combined 18.5 lengths. If I have to pick one, I guess I'm going to pick him because I'm going to stay away from the UAE Derby horses.
Yeah, another 3 have a chance. There's nothing like last year's horse that came over. I mean, he's a super horse, but none of those 3 have a chance. I did think 6 Speed looked good this morning. I did happen to see him. He's about not this time, so we give him a little bit of a chance. But no, it's a bad group at 3.
Yeah, I'm going to wish good luck to 6 Speed, and the connections owned in part by my friend Jake Ballas. So we'll see if they can find a way to pull off a shocker. But, yeah, all 3 probably up against it when you talk about some of the top American horses that are entered into this year's Kentucky Derby, and that's typically the case. But, hey, maybe there is a Forever Young among this group who steps up and runs a massive race. Sean, we appreciate those 3 questions. We're going to move on to this topic. Again, sticking with the theme of who has the better chance to win, let's talk about a couple of top trainers. You have dual Hall of Famer Mark Casse and future Hall of Famer Chad Brown. They're both still looking for their first Kentucky Derby wins. Which trainer has the better chance of ending that drought this year? Is it Mark Casse with Silent Tactic or Chad Brown with the Louisiana Derby winner Emerging Market? Tim?
This is an interesting question because on paper you'd say, well, Emerging Market has no chance because he only has 2 career starts. But, you'd take a deeper dive into that. He was second. I mean, when he won the Louisiana Derby, breaking from the far outside post in the 9-horse field, he beat a horse in Pavlovian who was making his 10th start. So, he got a lot of experience and seasoning in that race. And, this horse probably would have started earlier, but he lost some time in July, and then he got sick in the fall. He just was up against it for a long time. And Chad Brown doesn't throw these horses into these spots just to get a nice seat for the Kentucky Derby. I mean, he knows this horse has a lot of talent. Yeah, he's asking him to do an awful lot. But if he's got the confidence in this horse to think that he belongs. I mean, he's not coming out and saying this horse is going to win the Kentucky Derby, but he says he belongs. And when Chad says something like that, you usually take it to the bank. Silent Tactic is, he's kind of a grinder, and he shows up every time, but he just doesn't win. In 6 career starts, he's got 2 wins in 4 seconds. In 4 graded stakes, he's got 1 win in 3 seconds. Second in the Arkansas Derby, second in the Rebel, second in the Smarty Jones. He won the Southwest. I think he could get a piece, but if I'm going to look for more of an upside, and I know last week I was talking about I didn't think he had emerging market any chance at all, but the more I've looked at it, the more I think that maybe this horse is a special talent for Chad, and I don't think I'm going to pick him to win, but I might have him on my ticket.
Yeah, last week I said emerging market's just a throwout of 2 races, but I watched him yesterday morning, and he went very well. He looked awfully good, and it is Chad. Chad knows what he's doing. You're right. I think if Chad didn't like him, he didn't think he fit, he would wait on the Preakness like he's done with some of his other good horses. It's not like like you said, he's not there just to be getting a ticket. So between the 2, I don't think either one of them will win, but between the 2, I'd take emerging market.
We agree on something, Dale?
Yeah, we agreed finally. Because I saw him this morning. I thought he looked awfully good this morning.
He worked this morning, didn't he? Friday.
Friday morning.
Friday morning, yeah.
He worked good. He looked good doing it.
Yeah.
Well, he's intriguing, and I don't think you can count out Silent Tactic because he always runs his race. He hasn't won in a while. He's close. Shows up every time. Maybe this is the year that Mark Casse pulls it off with a horse like Silent Tactic. We're going to find out next Saturday. But for now, we're going to say hello to our friend Nick Zito, who knows how to win the Kentucky Derby. He's done it a couple of times. And Dale and Tim have the chance to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
All right, this topic comes from our friend Shane in North Carolina. He feels, guys, that Bob Baffert did not have Potente fully cranked for the Santa Anita Derby, in which he finished second behind So Happy last time out. He says getting a horse trained by the 6-time Derby winner is potentially a 20-1 bet or better, and that would be one hell of a gift. Is Shane right or wrong about Potente here, guys?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Dale, what do you think? 20-1 or higher on a Bob Baffert trained horse in the Derby? Good or bad?
I think he's right. Take a chance. He worked great Thursday, and the question is if he wants to make the mile and a quarter, but he sure looked like it Thursday. He worked good and galloped out strong and wasn't tired when he came by us. So I would say at 20-1 or better, take a chance. You never want to throw Bob out. He's another one who won't travel just to be traveling. He's here because he thinks he's got a chance.
Baffert has always told me about his Derby horses that they have to have what he calls the goods. I mean, I don't know if I've heard Bob talk about this horse having the goods, but then again, the day Medina Spirit won before he was DQ'd, he didn't say he had the goods either, and he won at 12-1. But Bob has started 35 horses in his Derby career with 6 wins, 3 seconds, and 3/3. 6 of his horses have gone off at 20-1 or higher, and the only one that won was War Emblem with 20-1 back in 2002. I mean, he's had horses that have gone way high, and the other 5 that he had that went off at over 20-1 didn't sniff anything as far as the top spots. So I'm going to say he's wrong on this one. I mean, Potente was never really considered one of his, the first stringers of his 3-year-old division. He's here, though, and he deserves the chance to run. And I'm not positive that the Santa Anita Derby this year was that good anyway. So I'm going to say he's wrong on this one. If you want to take this horse at 20-1 and higher, 20-1 or higher, good luck and God bless.
Tim, can you confidently leave this horse out of your, let's say, trifectas or superfecta bets, knowing he's trained by Bob Baffert?
Sure, I can.
Yeah?
Yeah.
At 20-1 or higher?
Yeah. He's had high, again, he's had horses with big numbers before. Bob's a great horse trainer, but it's not like every one of his horses are supposed to win the Kentucky Derby.
I'll say if it was anybody else, you'd be right. But seeing how well he worked and the fact it's Bob, I say he might be the last one you add to your tribe and put him in there.
Got a question, Dale. Does every horse look good in the morning for the Derby? Are there any horses you've seen that you say to yourself, I don't like the way this horse is moving? It seems like every time.
There's been one that's a favorite that I haven't liked. I just saw on video, but I'm not going to knock anybody's horse.
But most horses look pretty good, Derby horses.
Well, by the time they get here, they do, or they're not going to run. I've seen a bunch of them over the years that don't look very good, and they end up not making it to the gate.
Okay.
Dale, is there a difference between watching a horse work on video and watching them live on the track for you?
To me, there is. Big difference. Big difference. I just happened to see one on video the other day that looked a little short striding, but it might be. And another thing is, you don't know it. They're always like that. So, but I didn't think he looked the smoothest out there.
Right. So when you see something like that, will you try to get a look at them when they work on the track in the morning so that you can kind of confirm what you saw, or go the other way and say, geez, I was wrong about what I saw on video?
Well, I mean, yeah, if I get a chance. I mean, I'm not going out of the way to because I'm not betting anyway. But I bet last year's first bet I made in 30 years probably, and I hit the exacta. But that horse I thought stood out. And I haven't seen that standout horse this year.
So there's no horse that has made you do a double take?
No, nobody's really wowed. I mean, they're all good horses, of course, and they look good. But Sovereignty last year I thought was a man amongst boys training up to the race. And I was sitting there bored, and I bet $200 to win and $200 exacta. So I'm 1 for 1 for the last 30 years.
Well, guys, I got to move. We have 5 minutes left here. I don't mean to interrupt you there, Timmy. We got 5 minutes left in the program. Last week we did not get to Sarah in North Carolina's question, but I want to make sure we get to it this week. It's a different type of question. In light of the two likely Derby favorites, Renegade and Commandment, both being sons of Into Mischief, Sarah asks, what's made Into Mischief, and for that matter, all of the great sires that we've seen over the years, so successful? Is it a physical thing? Is it a mental thing? Maybe the mares that they're breeding? Or is it kind of a combination of everything? Dale, what do you think?
Well, it's a combination of everything. First of all, it's not the mares they're breeding because they have to earn the right to get those mares. And, Into Mischief was lightly raced and really wasn't that well thought of when he came out. And if it wasn't his owner that ran him, B1 Hughes, owned one of the biggest farms in Kentucky, he probably would have never gotten the chance that he got. That's a fickle market. There's horses coming off the racetrack you think could be no-brainers that they have to hit a sires that don't, and horses that just start out mediocre and, not this time started out for $12,000 or something like that. Now he's at $250,000. They weren't breeding the best mares, and that's what really starts to roll. If they start breeding, the second-tier mares and producing a lot of big winners, then the good mares start to come, and it's just a snowball going downhill. But it's a fickle market.
It's hard to point to just one thing. You can't say it's a physical trait that stallion possesses, or they had a great mental makeup and they're passing that on to their offspring.
Well, they wouldn't be in the stallion shed if they didn't have a great physical presence and a good mental state. So that going into it. They have to be. I always like a sire of a sire. So you have to have, like, Not This Time by Giants Causeway is one of my favorite sires, and so. Yeah, they're not going to make it that far without having a total package. Now, which ones hit and which ones don't, it's almost a coin flip.
Tim, Into Mischief has been almost unbeatable.
Well, you look at him, when he was on the racetrack, he had 6 career starts, 3 wins, and 3 seconds. He'd by Harlan's Holiday. I mean, when he had foot issues during his racing career, when he came off and went into the stallion shed, I mean, I don't know how many people would have said this is going to become one of the greatest sires of all time, but he has. He started out, his stud fee was at $7,500. Now it's $250,000. I mean, he's sired 3 Derby winners, 9 Breeders' Cup winners. He's just very consistent. He's produced sprinters to Derby winners. And I guess, he's been, I think 7 consecutive years as the the general sire titles. You know, he's just he consistently produces horses that win at a high level. I mean, he was a sire of Sovereignty and Authentic and Mandaloun Derby winners, even though Mandaloun was put up. But, you know, he sired Life is Good. Gamine. You know, he's just a Cafefe is another one. You know, is it a freak? Maybe, you know, but he certainly is. I mean, I don't know if there's an explanation for it, because he's not, you know, he wasn't a great runner on the track, but boy, he must have some great genes, because he keeps giving them out to these new runners, and you know, it's a gift from God, I guess.
Sarah, it's an interesting question. We appreciate it here on the program. If you have a question for Dale and Tim, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. We will do our best to work it into the shows going forward, or you can post it on our social media pages. Guys, it's that time of the show where we welcome our friends West Point Thoroughbreds, and we get to have our West Point of the Week segment. Tim, we're going to kick it off with you right after I remind listeners that 35 years of excellence leads to moments like this. West Point Thoroughbreds is celebrating their anniversary with one of the nation's top 3-year-old fillies, the sensational Counting Stars, as she points toward the Kentucky Oaks. You can join the legacy and feel the thrill of championship racing by visiting westpointtb.com. West Point Thoroughbreds, 35 years pursuing excellence. What do you got for us, Timmy?
Well, they just announced the class of 2026 for the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, and Kona Gold got in as the only contemporary horse. 2 contemporary trainers, the late Christophe Clement and John Sheriffs, and I just think it's a shame that they weren't voted in while they were still alive, because they were both on the ballot. It's just a bad taste in my mouth that they get in when they're no longer with us, because both of those men would have just relished the idea of going into the Hall of Fame. And, you know, I'm glad they're going in now, but boy, they should have been in when they were alive.
Yes, they should. Very good point. I don't have a lot this week other than the fact it's Derby week. It's the best week of the year, and everybody get over here to Louisville and have fun. But stay safe. It can be a little wild every week.
Yeah, it can be.
Yes, we can. Yeah, Dale, enjoy the week. Timmy, enjoy the week. We're going to do this all over again next Saturday morning, guys.
All right, guys. Good. Next week.
I Ask the Answer is presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program, and the College of Business. I'm back with more, including the answer to this week's Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
Here we go.
Come on, boys.
Good luck. And they're off.
Be part of the story. Own the moment. Go to MojoRacingPartners.com to get your mojo working.
My doctor said I could use something called a biosimilar. Then she told me what it is.
A biosimilar is a type of biologic medication. Just like brand name drugs have generic versions, original biologics can have biosimilars.
So I asked what the benefits are and if they work the same.
Biosimilars have the same safety, effectiveness, and quality as the original biologic. They also offer more medication options at potentially more competitive prices.
My doctor said I could learn more at fda.gov/biosimilars.
HRRN is proud to bring you the Derby Countdown. Bobby Neuman and Jude Feld will broadcast live from trackside and bring you interviews with trainers, jockeys, owners, and other racing insiders. Plus, keep you informed with up-to-the-minute news leading up to the Kentucky Derby. The Derby Countdown, presented by Hill & Dale at Alapa, Tuesday through Thursday morning during Derby Week at Churchill Downs. Go to horseracingradio.net for more information or to listen live. You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Blood Horse Magazine is the premier monthly publication of the thoroughbred industry. Further ado, Winning the Bluegrass Stakes is on the cover of the April issue of Blood Horse, which is out now. The issue also includes a deep dive into the details of the running of the Preakness Stakes at Laurel Park and which hosts the race for the very first time this year. Industry participants share their thoughts on the spacing of the Triple Crown, particularly the middle jewel of the Preakness, and so much more. All exclusive features only for subscribers. Become a subscriber for as little as $5 an issue at bloodhorse.com/subscribe. Well, Lee Delapina has the answer to a very challenging and living up to its name, impossible trivia question for you here this morning. Lee?
Thank you, Mike. What common household item is responsible for breeding more Kentucky Derby winners than any other source of wealth in Kentucky Derby history? The answer is baking powder, specifically the fortune from Calumet Baking Powder, which funded the legendary Calumet Farm in Lexington, Kentucky, who have bred a record 9 Kentucky Derby winners. Thanks to Mojo Racing Partners for this week's impossible trivia question. Get your mojo working at MojoRacingPartners.com.
Did you get it right? Get another crack at it next week with the Mojo Racing Impossible Trivia question here on a Derby Day edition of the Equine Forum. Next Saturday, we're going to have you covered with all kinds of action this week, including the Derby Countdown Show beginning Tuesday, live from Churchill Downs, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern. Bobby Neuman, Jude Feld have you covered on that show every morning. And that's all presented by our friends at Hillendale. Make sure you check it out. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. You can get a complete Derby Week schedule on our website, horseracingradio.net, and you can listen to the podcast of this show on our site and on your favorite podcast platform. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening. Go Steelers.